Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast, is brought to you by, well, you. If you want to learn how to support the show, go to patreon.com/laststandmedia. Salutations, everybody. It is Maddie here today, and welcome to episode 273 of Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast. Today, I'm joined by the Lord, who maybe is roaming Pi well. Who knows? Will the Xbox version allow him? Lord Cognito. How are you doing, sir?
Not roaming there for reasons that we will discuss. But I'm doing good, man. I mean, I'm doing good personally, physically. I'm in a nice little bag. You know what I mean? But actually, I want to shout out my man, Mr. Badbit. He does a PlayStation.
All right, we're already hitting the shout outs. Let's go.
Yeah, I got to shout him out because he actually, a guy, he was in the process of losing a lot of weight. And he was worried about his cardiology thing. And I'm seeing his diet. I'm like, bro, he's killing it right now. So I was like, I got to step with diet. That's like the Achilles heel for me. So I've been in my bag, man. I remember, my weakness has always been, sweets and sugars and treats after the thing. So now we bought a fresh bowl of fruit. You know what I'm saying? We got our mixed nuts. I bought all these things in the house to be like, okay, you got the urge, grab that. You know what I'm saying? Instead, so I've been doing that.
Bro, it's so funny.
Go ahead. Talk to me.
Proud of me. And I mean, the Sweet Tooth Party would be proud of me. 2 nights in a row, Crimson Desert Week. I'm just kind of like, need a little pick me up. I went out to DQ twice that week, bro. That's when you know, bro. Like that
DQ?
Yeah, I haven't hit DQ up at least in 5 years, but like I was like in the mood for. I love Oreos, bro. Oreos are, I just love Oreos.
I love those. Okay, I was
gonna say they have a candy classic that I tried. And, so good. And then I was like, the next day I was like, I'm a big M&M guy too. I was like, let me try that. Bro, I was about to go in for a third day. I love ice cream. I've just accepted that. Like I fucking love ice cream. I love sundaes. I love milkshakes, especially, bro. Can't get enough, but I was sweet toothing it up this week. Anyway, please continue. I
blame Rook because when I was out there for GDC in San Fran, when we linked up, I didn't even know about they had Oreos that like mint chocolate chip or it's like my joint. Like that or what's the joint? Shamrock. Like I didn't even know a Shamrock shake existed. Yeah. My man DJ Orange told me, he's like, you ain't know about that. I thought he was lying. He was like, yeah, McDonald's has those back in the day. I was like, there ain't no McDonald's that has those. You know what I'm saying? I found, this is real. So that's like, I know that chamber is. I have to stay away from you because that right there.
Have you tried frozen lemonade at Chick-fil-A? Have you?
Bro, that's straight. That's crack.
Crack.
That's crack. Like that.
Yeah. I think you put it on to me. Hold on. I think you put it on.
I put you on. Yeah. Bro, frozen lemonade at Chick-fil-A is a cheat code of destruction. I don't know how they get away with this. It is the most amazing tasting thing ever. So good. Yeah, I gotta stay away from that. So like I said, I've been in a good pocket away from all this.
All right, I'm the devil on your shoulder here. Continue.
Yeah. Your boy got your fruit bowls, and then I found this protein popcorn that is like gluten free and not a lot of sugars and so I've been in a nice little bag. Nice. Stomach coming down, trying to work on the visceral fat right now. We're trying to get the stomach back down. We ain't going 6-pack, but we got to be better. Like all this visceral fat is really not good at my age. So I've been on that. And then pro tip, green tea now. I've been on my green tea in the morning.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but people like, yo, bro, if you want to work on that, you got to get on your green tea. I think it's the Sacha. There's the other type of tea as well. Those are the 2 specific ones. And the other thing is, the new thing is, me and carrots got to get reacquainted because that's another thing that's going to help. I'll be bad. Like vegetables are bad, but like now I'm noticing, I was like, that's the one vegetable I do like that actually helps towards my condition. I was like, so everywhere I go, I'm like, yo, can I have extra carrots? Same kind of thing. So I've been on that. But yeah, other than that, and as far as the only negative thing that's happened this week is I've been having a bad tech week. Like things don't work.
Yeah.
Bro, sure. I was on my the PC and like randomly my video would cause like, yeah, we're not working. You have a random error. I was like, oh no. And it's the lifeblood.
Yeah.
So I was able to resolve it. It seemed to be some type of driver issue, but it's just something going on with, I gotta call AMD. I got to call you out. Something going on with the Adrenaline software. I've had this happen on my Ally. Now it's happened on my rig. And like their software suite that you go to open up, it actually doesn't launch anymore. It says go to AMD.com. Then you try to update it and nothing happens. So
this is what put me on NVIDIA, because I remember my first gaming PC was AMD stuff, and it like had an AMD graphics card, and they didn't have like the GeForce app where you just express install. Like, this is so great. Yeah. And I remember when I first went to they're like, you got to update your drivers for the new game coming out. I'm like, okay. And I'm sure it's better now. Pardon my ignorance, but it forever damaged my view of AMD, because I was like, dude, this is like fucking, you gotta be a tech wizard to get this. When it's your first gaming PC and it's like, that's how you update your drivers. I had to like go in and do it myself. I was like, dude, I need a program to do this. And people are like, oh, good GeForce graphics cards. They're top of the line stuff. And I was like, what? And I look at this software, Express installation.
Yeah, it's so easy.
It's such a difference.
It's so easy. I have to give you that. Like, I know we're going to talk NVIDIA again later.
Sure.
But when it comes to graphic card, at least from the suite standpoint and the Express installation, the ease of use, I'll be honest, if it wasn't for my IT background, going in device manager, doing all these extra steps that would literally intimidate a casual to no end, I probably would not have been able to fix it on both this and my ROG Ally. So I'm noticing AMD Adrenaline software, you got to come to the front of the congregation. I am not happy with what's been going on lately. So that's been my jet. What's been going on with you?
Yeah, for me, the tech snag this week was honestly the lights. Like I just realized I don't do well with the harsh bright lights. I just don't. Like I have my Alienware OLED monitor. It's kind of off camera to the side. Just between like the bright light there, we have the bright key lights for Elgato, and they have like no honeycomb covers that you can put over them yet. So it's just like, I'm using bounce lighting now. I'm like, this is giving me headaches like constantly. I just can't deal with it. So I went back to like my crummy little 1080p monitor, but like immediately, like I was not having headaches as aggressively. So that's been helping a lot until I really get that new monitor dialed in. I swear, like I just have like a like this something with me and like trying to upgrade my screens never goes smoothly. Like it's always a bit of an in and out process. But I don't know if anyone listening has had that issue, but I've always had like some level of light sensitivity, because I used to get pretty bad migraines. Now, thanks to the power of magnesium, it's well managed.
Hell yeah! Shout out to magnesium. I've been on that to kick too. Yeah.
Huge difference maker, bro. And so that helps keep me in check. But when I'm like sitting on these bright lights, like I have them at 2% right now, and they're shooting off to my right and left, just bouncing off the wall. And it works pretty well. Like I look pretty well lit, I'd say. But it was something where originally I was sitting there and like the lights were on me.
And dude,
like, when I'm on stream for like, I was on stream last night for 4 hours, and I got out. I said to Laylee, I was like, dude, I love sitting there doing this, but I was like, I can't. Like if I
not for that long
in the podcast and the streams and stuff, like I cannot sit on a light beaming in my face like that for 4 hours, 3 hours, whatever it may be. It's just, it gives me a headache. So that was my tech hurdle this week. Figured that out a little bit. So we'll see. I can go back to my other, hopefully.
Yeah, not to cut you. I remember I had that light issue last week. Remember, we started before we were recording. Randomly, camera was just wanted to act like my focus was off for no reason. I did nothing there. Now it's back, and I'm like, okay. Again, sometimes you just can't win it. It is what it is.
Otherwise, I'm in a good place, Cog.
Good.
Tomorrow, it's baseball.
Oh yeah, baby, we ready. Real quick, how we feeling? Wellness check. How we feeling?
I'm gonna be at the game, so I'm feeling great.
We looked okay. Okay, we going.
Yeah, I committed. I've been missing it so much. I watched like all the World Baseball Classic, and I was like, I gotta go to open day. I've never been to an open day game. Get to see Skeens, get to see Freddie.
Nice.
That's gonna be sick. Probably a high chance of the Mets getting shut out for the first like probably 6 innings. I'm not expecting much, bro. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like it's such a coin toss. I feel like you can validate like the idea of like they should be pretty good this year. Like Carson Bench making the roster. Like that's fun.
I like that. Did you see the call up? Did you see the
Yeah, I watched it. I was like, I was about to scroll by, but I was like, I don't think I've seen the Mets actually have a like video where they do this. Like I was like, this is huge. I gotta take this in. So that was sick. Yeah. So I'm excited to see him. But all in a baseball mood, Cog. Like, finished my fantasy draft last night.
Okay.
You want to hear the squad?
Let's hear the squad.
All right, I got you. This draft, by the way, was the most, I love the league, but the most whack draft I've ever been part of. I say this because, no, you laugh because you think I'm on some foolishness, bro. Okay. Anyone who's listening who's done fantasy sports, you got to hear this. So they are a bunch of older men who are busy. So their solution, instead of what most drafts do, is we're all busy. Let's get together for like 2 hours and knock this thing out.
Knock it out. Yeah.
Instead, they say you have to draft by the 25th. So for like the last 6 days, it's just like my phone will just go off. Hey, Matt, you're up. Like, and like they're texting in group chat. They're arguing. They're like, we should just do this all at once. Like, bro, this is a draft that went on for 6 days. Some dudes are like, I like to think for a little bit about it. So you like see one dude go up. Like I had so many moments where like I had next pick. And like I checked my phone like 6 hours later. I'm like, this dude still ain't draft yet. Like, and this
what's
is
the window between picks?
This is some free league shit, and it's a paid league, like $200 to get in. I'm like, what are we doing? It's a keeper league. Like it's a serious league. It's like, you had to wait that long. So yeah, you had unlimited time technically. You had to eventually pick because you had to move everyone along. Yeah. But like you just had to draft by the 25th. So it picked up a little bit over the weekend, but bro. Unbelievable. I've never been part of a draft.
I've never seen a part of a draft like that. Possible. Me neither. That's crazy. Yeah, bro. I've been in drafts since like 2 minutes, 5 minutes. They not playing no games, and you got to be there that one day.
I love the pressure of it. Like you got to know your team. Like who are your sleepers? That moment your sleeper gets taken. Like oh shit, I got to like grab another off the list. Like I love that stuff. I love the research for it, and it kind of throws that off.
Hell yeah.
Squad though, Cog. Ready?
Talk to me.
Got Will Smith. Rafael Devers.
Okay.
Jazz Chisholm. We love Jazz
Chisholm. Nice.
Austin Riley. Mets killer. Trey Turner. Jackson Churio.
Okay.
Brent Rooker. Right, bombs away. Brent Rooker.
Going for the power. All right.
I kind of regret this one. Got a little name happy here. George Springer. I hate George Springer. Peter.
Sometimes it be those picks that actually be productive. The ones that we personally have an emotional, I can't stand this person, but they're actually a good fantasy player.
He's 36 now, right? 36. And, had a great postseason. Had like one of his best seasons last year. I'm like, damn, I picked him on like his regression year. Like, this is the year he's going to like.
This is the year where it comes back down to earth a little bit. Yeah.
I was already looking at his spring training performances. Like, Springer's not really found it at the plate. I'm like, fucking, of course. Like, I should have. So I got a little name happy. Got Yordan Alvarez.
Okay.
And I won't run through the whole squad. I'll just run through my pitching, bro, is like, who?
How's your pitching? Who you got?
Noah Cameron. Do you know this guy?
I don't know who that is.
Kansas City. Top of their rotation. Like, nothing crazy. Connolly early. No, he's like, I think the number 2, I want to say.
That's your starting.
Yeah. I got Kevin Gausman. I got no ace, bro. I'm literally Mets starting pitching. Like, Mets got an ace now, I guess. But like, I got Connolly early. I got Tyler Glasnow.
Oh, I remember Glasnow.
Jack Leiter.
Yeah, this staff is
a
lot of hopes and dreams. A lot of potential. A lot of hopes and dreams here.
That's my problem as a fantasy owner. I like, as you saw with our Defining Duke draft, I love the sleepers. I love getting under the radar and like grabbing someone low value and like they just carry you to the top. I live and die on that shit, dude, clearly. So here I've done it again to myself. So we'll see. Anyway.
I like it. Fantasy drafts are fun, though.
I love them. I'm excited. I haven't done fantasy in a while, so.
Hell yeah.
Cog, we have a write-in showing a little love, and then we'll get into the official topics for the show. This one comes from Braden Roswell. He says, Maddie, I have to be honest, I found your YouTube channel a long time ago and thought, who is this dork? I think I'll pass. Think when I found out about Colin being back in the game biz, I immediately went down the rabbit hole of all the content that Last Stand Media had to offer. And I come to find out you're a part of this awesome family. So if Colin trusts this guy, so can I. Semi-joking aside, I just want to let you know that you and Cog, that Duke is the go-to show after Sacred. I frequently watch your stuff on YouTube now, and it's become a go-to source for me. You're both awesome. Keep up the great work. And I just wanted to say thank you, Braden, because I really respect the viewer that can look at my thumbnails and be like, I can't fucking stand this guy. this guy, I cannot stand him. And then you end up being like, you know what? He's not too bad. That's a level of open-mindedness I strive for. So thank you, Braden, for being a great example. We appreciate you.
Much love.
Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast, is brought to you by Shopify. Ladies and gentlemen, let's have an honest chat about doubt. It lives within all of us, and sometimes that can suppress our best ideas. And you're never going to be totally cozy taking that leap of faith, but sure, there are services around there that can make it a lot easier, and that's why I'm here to tell you about Shopify. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the United States, from household names like Mattel and Gymshark to brands that are just getting started. And like I said, this is all about easing that level of doubt. Things like, hey, what if the storefront isn't working properly? Like, people put items in their cart. Can the payment process go through smoothly if I build with Shopify? Well, they have the Shop Pay button that's used by millions of businesses around the world. It's why Shopify is the best converting checkout on the planet. Or what if you get stuck while you're building this? I'm not really used to building businesses. I'm just an idea guy or gal. Well, guess what? They have award-winning 24/7 customer support to help you build your business and achieve your goals. So it's time to turn those what ifs into with Shopify today. Sign up for your $1 per month trial today at shopify.com/Duke. Go to shopify.com/Duke. That's shopify.com/Duke. All right, Cog. Let's get into the actual topics now. This first one is, what games are we looking forward to? This comes from the Blues Bomber. He says, hey, fellas, what games are you looking forward to in the next few months? I looked at the release schedule and not much stood out to me. I was somewhat excited for Crimson Desert, but the discourse and massive open world fatigue finally got to me. After RE9 and Pocopia, the only things that stand out are Lego Batman and perhaps Pragmata. I hope you boys are doing well. Cheers. Thank you, Blue Bomber. We appreciate you. Cog, eyeing down the rest of the year, what just comes to mind for you?
I mean, it's all the big stuff. I mean, I think right now I'm in a short-term mindset, so I haven't even gotten to like all the major stuff that I'm excited for the rest of the year. I think me and the Lords, we did like an after dark where we call ourselves Lord Publisher, and then you pick our, your studios and who you going with for the year, and then who's going to come out and the Metacritic and stuff like that. Look, there's a ton of stuff. I'm saying, obviously the Fables, the Gears, and all that stuff, but short term, it's a lot of DLCs I'm actually excited for in the very immediate short term. So clearly, obviously, the Starfield DLC, I'm excited about Terran Armada. Sure. I want to see what's going on. I don't know if you saw, but Shinobi done announced a Villains DLC of classic Sega characters that, like, these are from my childhood. Like, when I saw Death Adder from Golden Axe, I lost it. They got Majima from, the Yakuza. I'm like, okay, cool. Alters is working on DLC. You know what I'm saying? So you know how I feel about that game. But I think the next short-term game that I'm really, especially after playing it at GDC, I've come full circle now back on Replaced. Because I remember I told you I had very critical feedback from them. I was like, you guys got something so special. Why does it run like this? You know what I'm saying? This was a year ago. I played that latest version. Now, granted, it was the same Steam demo that most of you guys have already played. But the performance was leaps and bounds. I'm like, oh, they're putting it together. So Replace, I'm super hyped for. And then I would say another short-term game within April, Invincible Versus.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Because it's like, I don't know enough about this anime, but this anime looks cool as hell and brutal and crazy.
You would love it. I wouldn't even call it anime, but like you'd love it. You'd really think it's great.
Bro, and not, obviously I got a chance to cover it just recently, and bro, I made the devs fight each other. It's kind of funny. Bro, and it was like the senior level, but the lower level dev beat the senior level guy, the head studio guy, so you could feel a little tension and all the rejoice. But brutal combos, and then the fighting game community stuff. So that, and then immediately after that is I'll be a Forza bro to Maddie's happiness. You know what I'm saying? Japan. Don't give me the pit boy. Don't pit boy me. The fake I hate. That's hilarious. Oh, so look, the Japan. It's so soon. It's so close. It's gonna make me feel there. So it's the perfect place at the perfect time, and that's the only racing game I really like. So that's the short term stuff. Y'all know most of my. Is what you call it coming out this year? Oh, I know it's my up the new list. The Star Wars, XCOM
Company. Yeah, it should
They're
be.
about to talk this week, I think. They're about to talk today or tomorrow. I got to check. Yeah, something's going down from Bit Reactor. I got to see what's going on.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yes, because
that was what they said last year, I want to say.
Yes, they doing something with PC Gaming. We're going to do some professional podcasting right now.
Oh.
Yeah, they're doing something, and they said they were going to drop some information Wednesday. So I want to make sure that we don't miss this, because at the end of the day, I am super hyped for that game. And I didn't realize the developer, the lead dev on the Star Wars, what's the official name of it? The Star Wars joint?
Zero Company.
I didn't know you know who my GOAT is, XCOM, Jake Solomon. I didn't know he was on the team with Jake Solomon and what you call for XCOM 2. I didn't know this. He put that out there, say 10 years ago, XCOM, he put like a shout out tweet. And I was like, oh, I didn't know that. I was like, that's the GOAT. And then, we started talking. So hold on one second. I got to find this because this is very important.
Yeah, because that's like, that would be top 5 of my list. Because like, if it really is what we're hoping for, which is like a little more hardcore, and like you really get to customize your entire battalion and you get to name them, and like if you get to go that far with it, like the Star Wars fantasies I will create with this thing, if it's like XCOM 2, is going to be insane, bro. We need an XCOM 2 style game. I know there was like Phoenix Point, I think it was called, and certainly
Julian,
more on that, but like since XCOM 2, there hasn't been an XCOM ass game like that's hit on that level of like tactical choice and just difficulty and that sort of stuff, that base management. So if this game can hit that, bro, you and I are going to be eating good.
So far, nothing yet. I didn't see anything yet. You know, they did just say stay tuned, and I guess PC Gamer must have reviewed it or whatever, the information they gave. The link doesn't exist anymore. What is going on? Oh, that's crazy. They took it down. What's going on?
Oh, no.
Oh, no. What's going on? So we guess have to stay tuned. I guess they're not ready to talk about it just yet.
There you go.
What about you?
For me, obviously Lego Batman, top of the list. I'm going to be honest. Like, that's just right up there. But after I previewed a certain game, I was already going to play it, but definitely like most anticipated list for sure now. Mouse PI for Hire. Like that game is really good from what I played. Like if you enjoy that era, like I described it in my preview like this. Number one, obviously the visual style. I mean, they're going hard on like they're doing. Shout out to Johnny Roses, man. Shout out to my man Lone Vol Wanderer. Him and his team are doing God's work at Playside, showing what makes this thing tick. All right, they're doing the. But what's up?
Wait. The homie Lovo Yoga is on that.
Yeah, he's doing like the PR work for it and stuff. Yeah.
I didn't know this.
Yeah,
that game was fire. That's what's up.
Yeah, dude. And they're leaning into the right stuff. They're like, all these animations you see, like I think it was like there are like 1,500 of them, all hand drawn. I'm like, okay, I see what you guys are doing. They're like, we're doing a physical for Mouse PI for Hire. They're literally leaning into its retro aesthetic, which they should. It's like a retro ass looking game. And it's like, dude, you gotta support this for the soul. And like, I'm seeing the hype build up. But when I previewed it, I said like, it reminds me of two things. One, it reminds me of like a 360 era shooter where it very much knows what it wants to be. It's a little linear, but it does like a really good job of like just making the most of what it has. And in this case, it was like just its art style and its enemy variety was really good. And its boss fights and the way it like taught the player lessons and built up to that, I thought was really good. But also the fact that it's very Doom-like, and I don't mean Doom like hardcore balls to the wall, but it is fast paced. You do have like that sort of running around the combat arena. Like it did capture that feeling, but then it's also way more open and interactive than I expected. Like I went back to Mouseburg and you got to like walk around the street corner and like, dude, there's tons of NPCs just like walking around, like all smiles and whatnot. You could stop and talk to them a little bit. You can take up like side jobs if you want and like work with other mice on other cases. There's the whole overworld section where you're like just driving around Mouseburg and just going from level to level. Think of like the overworld map in Tiny Tina's Wonderland or Expedition 33. Like you're just going around that kind of map.
Oh, like that energy. Okay.
So, yeah, you're in like a little car though, driving around this black and white world. Like that, the customization for the like artistic aesthetic. Like you can make like the audio a little more crunchy. You could put more film grain on. Like you could really make this thing look and feel old. Like I'm just so excited for this one. So that's next couple of weeks actually.
I
and
didn't realize that.
Yeah, like I usually don't badger my friends who like I have a few friends who work in PR. I usually don't badger them, but like Johnny, I was like, bro, you know, like if you got review build access, it just like I'm just know I'm ready and just good to
putting it out there.
Just putting it out there. I was like, just let me know, dude. So that was either way, we'll be playing this one the moment I can get my hands on it. You brought up Replace, that's another good one. Otherwise, trying to think. But I think Pragmata is definitely up there as well. I've seen some buzz generated for that. And when we did our kind of top anticipated games at the end of last year, I said Pragmata was there. So that stays there. Capcom really just like killing it. We'll talk about later how they might be doing DLC for, you know, a game that I adore. And I'm just like, dude, fuck yeah. Like, this is sick. So Capcom's just killing it right now, man. And just a lot to look forward to. This has been such a fun year for games. And me, I'm just still parked on Pacopia.
Yeah,
So I'm well.
You're in your happy place.
Yeah, 100%. So
No
it's
doubt.
been a good year of gaming. And just, you don't have to look far to find something I think to look forward to personally. I will admit, though, based on this write-in, like, yeah, I think once we get to like June, it's a little less clear. But give it a showcase or two. Like, give us one Summer Games Fest and probably one Nintendo Direct in your whole second half of the year. You're not sure what to do. Like, we already know based on state of play, like August, September is going to be crazy.
Oh, nuts.
Everyone's moving up to get out of the way of GTA. So I think that August to October rush is going to be like crazier than we've ever seen it.
Absolutely.
So that'll be fun. All right. This next question comes from What Darren Plays. He writes, hey, Maddie and Cog, I had a thought, and it's not meant as a gotcha, but more of a question of how content is parsed through the internet and various audiences. If an AI watches a guide video and relays that info to you for guide purposes, you were wondering if they should kick back to the YouTuber or even could. But is this any different from you or many other YouTubers, streamers, podcasters reading full articles verbatim or even summarizing them for your audience? The website doesn't get a kickback from millions of people getting the info they sourced, news they broke, or interviews they did. Over the course of Duke or Sacred, I must have ingested tens of thousands of articles without ever visiting their site. Is it just different because it's a machine doing it, or is it a bigger company? If a YouTuber becomes huge, should they do more than just link in the description, as this is what AI does? It links in tiny text, the source that it pulls from. I don't know the answer, but the info is free on the internet, then it seems like it's free to be summarized and shared and reacted to. At least that's how it's always been treated. Love your show, by the way. Listening since Cog joined. Have a fix your face, Batty kind of day. Darren, thank you. This is actually a great write-in. I thought this challenged a lot of key points in like really educated ways where I'm like, that is a really tough one to answer when you frame it like that, because it's like, yeah, guilty as charged, right? Like, absolutely. Okay, am I going up to IGN and be like, here's your cut, sir? Like, you know, no. I think there's different levels of it. Like, there are YouTubers that I think, when I read what Darren wrote, I think of certain content creators who just like sit there on stream and just watch the video, and they're not doing anything. They're just watching the video live. And it's like, it's one thing if they're interacting with it, like pause, talk about it a little bit. But there are people who just watch content on their streams. Like, I think XQC did that for a while. I don't know if he still does, but I remember like that being an example of a streamer who just like sat there and just watched reels, watched TikToks, watched videos, and just wouldn't say anything. And I'm like, a little weird, you know, like, you know, a little weird. If I were to get a little judgmental about it.
Strange.
But when it comes to scraping and then turning into a service, right? I think it's a little bit different because you're not relaying. Like in my case, I'm a relayer. Like I've talked about how the press does the hard work a lot of the times. I sometimes get lucky to get interviews and I can return the favor basically. But the press does the hard work. They give us the headlines. They give us the insight. They give us the information. And then we kind of spread that. We react to it. I think there's a difference between taking that kind of collective information and turning it into a conversation. Again, I'm looking at myself more so and like how I think about it. But I think with something like AI, where it's like you're literally scraping, it's like, here's everyone from Push Square to IGN to Carrick of ACG's Walking the Walk to Iron Lord's podcast. And we're taking all of that data and bits of it, and we're forming this walkthrough. And we're posing it as our Copilot for Gaming walkthrough. It's our walkthrough.
Yes.
I think that sourcing is a little bit different. Whereas, like, again, if you create a conversation or a reaction, even just a simple, like, whoa, look at that, like to a trailer, I think it's a little bit different, right? It's about like creative usage is what is, that's at least how YouTubers know it. So I'm curious what you think, Cog, because I thought this was a really great question.
Yeah, shout out to what Darren's playing. Great pushback. I love the question. I think it's fair. I think you kind of nailed where I was going with it, because I think for me, the issue comes down to signal boosting. And I think, like, for example, when an article comes out from one of the majors that does all the legwork, the IGNs or the Digital Foundry or whoever, and, you know, we retweet, we signal boost. Now, when it comes to a podcast, obviously, source, hey, Digital Foundry said da-da-da, or in terms of us with lordsofgaming.net, like putting the article link, the backlink, that is so key. These backlinks are so important for the other site to get the traffic. And there's the times, you know, it's been done to us. We're like, hey, just want to let you know that was from Lords of Gaming. You know what I'm saying? And then boom, they'll correct it, or they'll make the proper reference. All that stuff helps. Again, when it's from the AI's perspective, you made the key term. It's acting as if the ownership and the content comes from them. There is no, hey, based on the information we got from Mr. Matty Play's interview with Todd Howard or Chris, you know what I'm saying? There's no signal boost or reference point. It's that I came up with this as the AI. You see what I'm saying? And that's the key. So he is right that YouTubers, streamers, podcasters, they sometimes read, and I'm guilty of it, it's a charge as well, verbatim. But the key is, hey, per Metacritic, per IGN, per whatever. And if you can, exactly. So you at least signal boosting the source. That's the main thing. So that's all we can say. Because there's no, it's a tough, to your point, Darren Plays, it is a very tough situation to do. But that's all I would hope is in terms of some regulatory thing eventually down the road from an ethics perspective, that at least the credit is given from where they're pulling these sources.
Yeah, that's, I think, what it all comes down to, straight up. Like, you know, I like when IGN, at least, and I know I'm like a smaller demographic, a lot of people are like, give me the information I need now. For me, like when we're writing our shows, like I'll click on IGN and they'll be like, as reported by Games Radar, and it's hyperlinked. I'm like, cool. So I click Games Radar's hyperlink and it brings me straight to their website. A lot of websites do, you can actually, I call it like link traps, is the only hyperlinks they do cycle you within their own ecosystem. It never goes outside because they don't want you to leave their website and start surfing somewhere else. So it's like a traffic trap. But I think that proper sourcing and kind of diving in, like, so I feel like I give them the click and I try to link and source that sort of stuff. With podcasts, it's a little bit different. It's tough because our description's already a mile long with the timestamps we do. And then adding in the links to that, I think YouTube would cap us on that because eventually if they see too many links in the description, they flag it as spam. 100%. So I think it's just important to source, because I've been on the receiving end of that, where when I first so I went through my little baby leaker phase is what I call it, where I had my moment with like KOTOR and a couple of things Xbox related where I was like, yeah, is happening. And I'd watch as it gets scraped up. And there is a level of like, you got to fight to like put people on watch. Yeah. And I don't think you can do that with AI. Like there is a level of like, oh, Maddie will say something. You know, like I had to step to Schreier. I had to step to OG Duke at one point. Like, oh, Ryan, like, come on, bro. Like,
yeah, this was me.
Like you got to kind of get your cred out there.
Exactly.
A little bit and fight for it. And some people get immediately bothered and go to a call out. I try not to do that.
Yeah, try not to do that. Yeah.
I try to just keep it very straightforward though. Yeah. But I think that's the difference between like content versus AI, where it's a little more ambiguous. Like, did they take it from the, Game Riot's playthroughs and Radbrad's playthroughs? Sorry. Did they take it from IGN's walkthroughs online? Like, where did they take it from? So I think some sourcing would help. The kickback is only brought up in the terms of monetary stuff because Microsoft, I think, brought it up themselves.
Yeah,
which is interesting.
I did see that.
So,
I did notice that. Yeah,
yeah. My assumption is they will strike deals with like content creators. Like I literally think they will hit up like Let's Players and be like,
that'd be awesome.
We would like to use your playlists and train our model.
Exactly.
How much money do you want?
Yes, get a little kickback to the dudes.
That's why I said Let's Players with just visuals and no camera.
Yeah.
Oh man, they're about to eat.
About to eat big time. Yeah, shout out to my boy.
Guide writers are about to eat a little bit probably, and then like also it's going to be a little terrifying because they're kind of like they're going to pay you, and then it's going to be like, are they going to eat your traffic now? Like it'd be very interesting to see how people navigate it. Like, if I'm like Power Picks or something like that, like I'd be a little bit like they're like to me the lifeblood of trophy walkthroughs. Like, when you're seeing this stuff creep in, I know we're talking Xbox right now, but like I wonder how they're thinking about it. And it's like one of those things, I can't even make an educated guess. I don't make guide content. I make more commentary, news, that sort of stuff, reviews. But like, for them, dude, like that's, it's probably like a threat.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Do you cave to that or at all if you know they're going to go to someone else after you?
Right, that's the question. And that's what I said. We brought it up maybe 2 Dukes ago, and I shout out my boy Marker 91 Productions, who's done guides for so many Xbox games, indie games, things of that nature. And he even mentioned, he's like, yo, thanks for the shout out, kind of thing. Because again, these are the people we have to protect that's putting that content out. And if there's potential for opportunity, and if Microsoft, is going to empower that, then we need to get them in there, and we need to figure out what the terms that make sense. So yeah, I'm in agreement with that.
Right on. Cog, are you in agreement with Marathon's performance is a bigger question. Let's talk about this. Had to make this our kind of like the way our document's broken up. We start off with write-ins and then we get into what I call starter news. And I had to make the opening starter news. What's going on with your beloved Bungie? All right. We got to talk a little bit about Marathon. We have the post here from Reese Elliott of Alinea Analytics, who's been the friend of the show for Last Stand Media as a whole. He actually shouts out Chris Raygun in this post here, which we'd love to see. He writes, Marathon has sold 1.2 million copies across Steam, PS5, and Xbox, according to Alinea Analytics estimates. It hasn't exactly made the splash Sony and Bungie wanted, even if the game underneath the surface is a masterwork of design. Looking at the split between PS5, Steam, and Xbox, Steam is clearly the main platform for Marathon, accounting for a little under 70% of the audience, or 800K of the copies sold. Meanwhile, PS5 takes about 19% at 217K, and Xbox, including console, PC, and cloud, accounts for a bit over 11% or 133K. Marathon is technically a first-party title, so seeing the home console struggle to break 20% of the volume is a notable data point for the ongoing platform-agnostic debate. PlayStation Studios' online games will almost certainly continue to be multi-platform, despite Sony reportedly pulling back on PC. One topic that came up a lot in conversation at GDC this year was why Marathon hasn't hit the same stratosphere as Arc Raiders. On paper, they're both extraction shooters, and Marathon has the Bungie pedigree, the house that built the gold standard of gunplay for Halo and Destiny. My answer is that players understand the Arc Raiders loop with 30 minutes, while Marathon's UI acts as a massive filter, chewing up newcomers and spitting them out before they can experience the depth of Bungie's signature gunplay and Marathon's awesome gameplay loop. The Steam copies sold during each game's respective server slam paint a picture there. Arc Raiders saw a massive 80% jump in copies sold during its 3-day server slam. Marathon, meanwhile, saw a 49% increase in the 4 days following its server slam, which is 7-3. Despite the friction-heavy start, the data suggests that those who have survived Marathon's onboarding are loving life. I love how he describes that. We've been tracking cross-platform daily active users, and while there's an expected post-launch leakage, many players are sticking with it. After peaking at 478K total daily active users on its first Saturday, Marathon has settled into a respectable rhythm, holding 345K daily active users as of yesterday and averaging 380K daily active users across the weekend. On Steam, Marathon's average playtime has climbed to 27.8 hours, significantly outpacing the console average on PS5 of 16.5 and Xbox, which is 17.3. Even more telling than the averages, 22% of the Steam audience has surged past the 50-hour mark, and 7% have logged over 100 hours, which I know Chris Raygun is in that category. Congrats to Chris. He says Playstation and Bungie are at a crossroads here. They can, 1, double down on Marathon with a long-term Rainbow Siege or No Man's Sky recovery plan, which is something he heard that at Chris Raygun had smartly mentioned last week on Secret Symbols. While this could be a sunk cost fallacy in action, it could eventually yield the audience the game's mechanical depth that it deserves. 2, shift the focus toward the inevitable Destiny 3 or another project, mitigating the escalating opportunity cost and cutting their losses, so to speak. Doing both is an expensive proposition given the high overhead and burn rate of operating out of Bellevue, Washington. With Sony recently demonstrating a lower threshold for underperforming studios and projects, the margin for error has vanished. Whatever happens, the next 6 months will determine whether Marathon becomes a cornerstone of Sony's live service portfolio or a cautionary tale of vision exceeding accessibility. I'm hoping it's the former because Marathon fucking rocks. And then he has a big analysis on his Substack, which please check out Reese's work. He is sourced a lot on our respective shows. But Cog, I kick it to you, my friend. With all that analysis there, Steam, lead platform. So PlayStation, when it comes to million plus sales, it's not even like they're getting the full advantage of the first party output, just 20%. But these are estimates, but it seems like reporting has corroborated said estimates where these are pretty accurate. You can kind of take it to the bank. So what you see here with Marathon, how are we feeling? And with the crossroads that Reese kind of proposed here of like, do you double down or do you go for a Destiny 3? I'm sure this will get into kind of what you're playing and how you're feeling about Marathon thus far, but just to kind of tease a little bit, like, which way do you feel Bungie can go? And like, again, with Sony being a little cutthroat with their whole Herman Holst era, we have another studio shutdown to talk about.
Yeah.
You got to imagine the leash is short here. And that 1.2, it's like, okay, but not explosive like they're looking for. So how are you feeling?
I am torn. I am torn here because it's what the heart is saying is that when you get to the core of this game, this is really a great game. As a person that was the most skeptical and disrespectful of this game's existence. Yeah, bro.
You think you were disrespectful?
Oh, yeah, in the beginning. Oh, yeah. I was like, who want this? Why are we here? You killing... I'm a Destiny guy first. So
yeah, sure, of course. Yeah.
My thought process is that you killed Destiny PvP for this. They're the new child getting all the new things, and then the old child is suffering. And, is it a situation where, you're going too wide, too big before focusing on your breadwinner, right? So that was the main thing. Look, let's just not sugarcoat it. 1.5, 1 million? That's soft. That's super soft for 3 platforms with Steam kind of leading the way, right? 70%. So on one hand, you love the stickiness. You love the fact that there hasn't been that much of a drop off since Server Slam, and it stayed steady and consistent, right? Mm-hmm. The other problem is that this is a PlayStation first party studio now, right? Anyway,
yeah. The
fact that it's not doing well on PlayStation, that bothers me. And I hate to say it, but I have an eerie deja vu right now. Mm-hmm. I don't like this feeling. The feeling I have, and all my Destiny fans, you know this well, this feels like final shape. And what I say about it is they've had, and when I get into what we're playing, they just come off one of the most kind of amazing weekends for them as far as this cryo, content that they've just did. And like, it was a vibe. It was a thing. And just like Destiny 2's final shape, when the Witness and the Raid and the Excision mission and all these things, and you go, man, I see why they said, wait, this thing cooked, right? Even though it's a niche of a niche of a niche of a niche of a niche, right? But it's just like, there's a part of me is like, is this going to be enough? And I am very worried, especially when we talk about what Sony's been doing lately, right? And, as far as their studios and studio health and what's not producing. And it's just like, exactly. I'm like, there's a part of me is like, you need to be realistic of what could happen. Now, to the question, the hope is they use this as a Rainbow Six Siege moment, right? Rainbow Six Siege, I remember vividly, people were pissed with that game. There's no campaign. What is this? You know what I'm saying? Like it went through a metamorphosis, and it still never did a campaign, but it stuck to what it was. And I will say, marathon players, they ride or dies. They are ride or die. Like, they love this game very hard. Now, the question will be, and I'll get into more about how they handle that part, but I would love for the first option, because as much as I want Destiny 3, don't get me wrong, I think there's something here. There is something here for the hardcore PvP guy. There is something. I just got to figure out, how do we make this a little more less abrasive, right? Because that's the hook of Arc Raiders, man. Arc Raiders, you know what the loop is. You immediately get it. There's no UI you're fighting. There's no things you got to learn. There's no crazy bad onboarding. So that's going to be the question for them. So, but I agree with Reese. The next 6 months are going to tell me nothing, but I am very worried. I'm never going to BS you. I'm very worried. Sure. Very worried. And I'm like, if this is the end, I want to thank you, because I'm going to tell you right now, like, what I've been experiencing, and people have come up to me that actually have given it a chance and stuck with it. I was like, I get it, Cock. I get it. They cooked, in my opinion, on something that I was very skeptical of from the beginning.
Yeah, man. I don't envy their position, man. It's just like, it feels so disastrous in every way, just because, like, it seems like those who have hung with it are really happy with it. And you just wish for, like, I think a lot of live service games could eventually find their way if they were given the time on the market to do such a thing. Like, it's funny because like I think if there's one great example of that, because we were just talking about its DLC earlier, like Bethesda does that, dude. I mean, I wish it didn't have to come down to the recovery projects, but like 76 they hung with, and like they completely reaped all the rewards on that year after year now. They are probably so thankful that for all the skepticism they had with hanging with that they actually did it, because when the TV show banged and when there's just general good content waves for the game, like they were probably like, dude, wow, like we can just maintain this thing. And like it's same thing with ESO. ESO got off to a terrible launch. Impossible to imagine now, but it got off to a terrible launch. And a decade later, it was like one of the most popular MMOs on the market. Starfield they're hanging with. Like I wish more developers did that. It's frustrating to be in that case a Bethesda fan, because it's like I just want you guys to nail it out the gate. But with Sony, the question really is, are they willing to have the patience to nurture something from their quote premier live service studio, end quote, or not? Because I do feel like by hanging with this, there could be something there that could pay off in the long term. It's never a guarantee, but I feel like it's a well-maintained risk for the stability of the studio that you don't try to rush Destiny 3. Especially because how ahead of schedule can you get if you start like, oh, this game's fucked right now, get on it? How much time are we really saving? Right. It might be better just to literally invest in Marathon and try to make this a steady player for you, so that when Destiny 3 inevitably comes around, if the studio's around long enough, that it hits and Marathon is in its own place. Right. And they kind of high tide raises both ships. I think that's ideally where they want to be, is managing both these games at the same time. But I think they deserve to be given that chance. Certainly, they've gone through the layoffs, the staff changes, and just completely gutting Bungie, where you can see it going both ways. Yeah. Just play the thing that really, I'm sure it's hanging in your head too. It's just PlayStation's recent actions show that this isn't enough. And that's the kind of like my less emotional part of myself is just looking like, I don't know, man. Like they've been wiping everyone out from the whole Herman Holst era. They've been shutting down projects from the Herman Holst era. This was one of those that we looked at. And it's like not a good acquisition when you really break it down. Like, and they've, again, if there was, I know it's not thought about this way on the corporate level, but from my point of view, when I look at like what they had with Blue Point, there was all the logic in the world to be like, hey, whether they pitched this project or it was forced upon them, like, hey, they're not a live service team. Hey, if we give them the right project, like we did with Uncharted, there's 10 million copies sold. We can give them a remaster and make this work. If we just stick with it, it's going to take a little patience. It's a little bit of it's not going to look good on the sheets, but like if we can just justify the operating costs and get them on their way to a project that they're known to do well and give them the right IP, that should be a less risky endeavor. I think we got something here. When they got cut, that sent all the message I knew that I needed. Is like they need their money now. No, yeah. They are rapidly changing, pulling out a PC. They're building the walled garden again. And it's like, if you are not contributing now, you know, they've already started. They clearly have a process of rolling Bungie staff into their own studios. So I just look at all of that combined. I'm like, yeah, dude, I don't know if like this is really enough where they can kind of survive that. And I hate to kind of doomer on that level. I don't know if it happens really this year, but you know, what's going to give them, what do you think gives them that surge that gives them that player count? Like, is it really reducing that friction, or is there something that they can do to like have that Arc Raiders moment? Can you have an Arc Raiders moment after launch? Because I've always talked about this, is that Arc Raiders is a great video game. And what Reese wrote is a very accurate, like 30 minutes, you know what it is, which is why, you know, I didn't hang around with it for much. I knew what it was and I was like, this isn't for me.
You knew what it was.
But what also really helped Arc Raiders on top of its great product was Marathon was fucking up big time at that moment. There's a big plagiarism issue. There is a stain on the game. Oh, yeah. And I think we need to acknowledge that. And I think we also need to acknowledge that spite is a huge motivator in this industry. Oh, yeah. You want to send a message and you see that good game right next to it. You bet I'm putting my money into that, right? Like that is the vibe for a lot of people, I think. Not like as people in general, but they speak with their wallets. And I think there was a message then, like you probably, again, that delay I think hurt. If this is the same game, like we get this game today, the one that we have now, and it's ready last year, like it was supposed to be, and there isn't this plagiarism issue, I think we have a little bit of a different competition and conversation. you know, when they're going head to head and they're both at full strength. But when it looked like Marathon was the inferior product and people have got that fix already, and you launch so soon after that, and you're doing with, I don't know much about the cryo stuff, but extraction shooter, similar approach to game design, but your first person shooter, different setting. I don't know if that was it's what I talked about in my Server Slam impressions, and I'll be curious to see if you agree. I don't know if that's enough to like make an Arc Raiders player go, oh, I need to get that.
Right.
Like, that's not feeding. They didn't, and it's not their fault because these games just launch right next to each other. It's why you got to take your best swing the first go around. You can't have those types of delays because when the competition shows up and they happen to have the same genre and they're just really good to go and you're not, it's like people have already made their decision. They've spent their $40 and they're like, I don't need another extraction shooter for a while, at least. Not 6 months later, let me get in on this new one and basically experience the same highs and lows, but in a different universe. Like, I need to invest more time into the thing I've already spent money on. So I think there's a lot of contributing reasons. I'm sure Marathon is a great game from what you say and what others say. I don't deny that, but I think there's just not a demand for it. And that's why I find a resurgence kind of unlikely, where I'm like, yeah, I think just hanging with it is the best you can do, because it's not going to accelerate Destiny 3 on this other fucking level to be like, oh my God, like if we jump on it right now, like they're not going to get out in 3 years, which then I'd be like, okay, maybe have a talk about Marathon, you know, just laying that to rest. But I don't think that's possible.
Yeah, no, it's a tough one. It's a tough one. The reason why Reese's example of and Chris's example of Rainbow Six Siege is actually a fitting one is because it's clear from a design standpoint, they have stuck to their guns as far as the type of game that they're going to make. And it's definitely hardcore PvP. And the thing about it is, if you're going to do that and you double down, you're still going to have to do some things to make this approachable for casual people, for people to say, okay, I don't want to come in there and feel like I'm going to be completely overwhelmed. So on one hand, I respect the decision on knowing who they are and making that. But on the other hand, what do you do, right, to get more people? What's the moment going to be? And that's going to be the challenge for them. And the fact that, bro, as y'all talk about how this is a harsh world in this game. You know, Arc Raiders, it's all about more PvE, and then the fact that the commentary is more baked in, that leads to more organic engagement. You see what I'm saying? And people, I have people, shout out my boy DJ, he's doing a Arc Raiders podcast right now. Like, some of the funniest stories is them, you know, interacting with people and talking to people. And whereas you could tell it with what you call Marathon, it wasn't baked in from the beginning. And you have to, when you launch the game, you have to say, do you want to turn proximity chat on? The fact that you have that as an option, a lot of people are going to just leave the default. So what makes Arc Raiders special is those organic moments that everyone is forced to engage with and deal with on some level. If the fact that this came later and then baked in because of feedback, we're glad that we put it in, but I think that also hurts it, you know what I'm saying, kind of thing. So there's a lot of things. I will say this, if anyone is able to be given time and turn something around, it's them. We've seen this from base Destiny 1. You know, we see this a lot of times for them. But the problem is what you said. I don't know if Sony gives them that time. That's the harsh reality I have to accept. And they've already been looked at as Bungie as a lemon, you know, coming in. They've already looked at, you know, put it this way, if you couldn't find a reason to get one of your most popular franchises live service in Last of Us Factions to come out, that gives me cause to pause. Because in my opinion, I think I agree with Colin on this, like, worst case scenario still would have sold though, right? I mean, you would think they would have got over 2 to 5 million just as, yeah, it was Last of Us. Even if they gave us,
especially with the show, you synchronize it. Yeah.
Even if you gave us the exact part 1 multiplayer that was on PS3. Remember they had their, what faction stuff. Bro, like, people would have still played. That's why I'm just like, so when I didn't see that get to market, I'm like, oh boy, you know, my man, Hiroki, he's playing a cold game right now, you know what I'm saying? And then remember, he was calling Bungie out by name back then. And we got to say, then you saw the brain drain where they're taking the talent. You are now PlayStation Studios. Those are signs that I can't ignore. I hope they're able to survive. I really do, because there's some talented people there, and I love them. But I just got to be real about when I saw that number, Maddie, I was just like, 1.2, whatever that was, that don't build confidence for me. But I'm hoping, man, because I love this game. But we'll talk more about it.
Absolutely. Cog, let's turn our attention to DLSS 5 once more. We have updated comments and information from both NVIDIA's CEO as well as a video from YouTuber Daniel Owen, who spoke with Jacob Freeman, who works at NVIDIA, about what's going on with DLSS 5. And I thought the updated information would be interesting to the audience. And of course, we'd give some updated thoughts on this. And this continues to be a hot button topic. Like, a lot of our conversation on fucking Summonstein was about AI. So I basically put this all, to the best of my ability, into one chunk of the show. So if anyone's like, I'm tired of hearing about AI, I respect that. I get that. And you can jump to the section where we'll talk about the Epic Game layoffs. So just wanted to make sure that was clear. But with DLSS 5, I wanted to open the can of worms one more time because Tech Power Up did a nice summary of what was shown in the video. And basically, he asked these key questions. And I think the questions he asked were great because he kind of cornered them. Like, he asked repeat questions and sort of drove it from different angles where it was like, you cannot fucking wiggle out of this no matter what you do. So I just wanted to read the questions and the answers. And it's a really great video that kind of, I don't know, for me at least, brought me a level of like, okay, I don't think this is going anywhere. I haven't kidded myself on that level, but at least I know I'm not fucking insane. You know, like that's it was like I was being gaslit. First question he asked was, my biggest question is whether or not this model is effectively taking a single 2D frame as an input with motion vectors to create an output frame. This then relates to some clarifying questions about the information you provided, to which they answered, yes, DLSS 5 takes a 2D frame plus motion vectors as input, which obviously can... I'm talking about you, bro. It contradicts what the CEO of NVIDIA has said.
Yes, 100%.
He continues to corner him. He says, you say the underlying geometry and textures are unchanged. Is the model actually aware of 3D geometry, 3D depth, or is it essentially looking at 2D image and then reinterpreting it, similar to taking a screenshot of a game and asking an AI model to enhance the screenshot to make it more realistic? To which NVIDIA's answer is, DLSS 5 is trained end-to-end to understand complex scene semantics such as characters, hair, fabric, and translucent skin, along with environmental lighting conditions like front lit, backlit, and overcast. You stop there, you're like, okay, cool, got it. Like, this is 3D. All by analyzing a single frame is how it ends. It's like, oh, okay. So we're seeing consistency here. I want to read this all, though, because I think for those who have not heard this information, for the people who are like me, who are like, I saw it and was like, man, fuck out of here. You don't need any more convincing. I think you already know where you stand. But for those who kind of need that additional nudge, it's just information that I present to you as sort of a think about it moment.
Absolutely.
He says, you say with DLSS 5 that the underlying geometry and textures are unchanged. However, in one of the publicly available examples, it looks like the character grew hair in a place where it didn't exist before. This seems to change the model's geometry and or textures rather than just enhancing lighting. In other words, it seems like the AI image generator reinterpreting the character, which can cause actual details to be changed. It also appears that some characters gain makeup that the original model did not seem to be wearing, which seems like it's changing the underlying texture. And the answer is, the underlying geometry is unchanged. It's also worth mentioning that this is a very early preview of the tech. So, just dodge that one. I think this is the most important answer here. Daniel wrote, you say it enhances the PBR properties on materials. Is it aware of the PBR properties by reading them from the game engine in some way? Or is it just looking at the output image and inferring them? In other words, it is my understanding that the game artists traditionally tell a shader what specific parts of a 3D model look like by giving it properties like metallic, roughness, normal maps to simulate bumpiness, etc. Is DLSS 5 taking those artists' created values as inputs, as in you can manually turn that dial to be clear, or is it inferring them from something more like the final output image? And the answer is DLSS 5 only takes the rendered frame and motion vectors as input. Materials are inferred from the rendered frame. And I think that is the most key answer of all, just to interject my own commentary here, because it is a 2D picture that they are looking at and they are assuming this is where roughness is. This is where metallic is.
Inferred.
And exactly. It's inferred. So it's not a direct 3D interaction. It's not like it has a connection to those values, those inputs in the engine, where that as a real-time tuner could be interesting to see how that works when the game's up and running. But that's not what's happening here. I'll read the rest here and then I'll dive into what NVIDIA CEO said in response to everything. When you describe the tools the developers have to control the model, it does not sound like there is actually a lot of control over DLSS 5's model's interpretation of the artistic intent of a scene beyond color grading or turning DLSS 5 off or down on some or all of the elements in the scene. For example, In the opening scene of Resident Evil Requiem, Grace is a character with a lot of trauma who is reluctantly on her way to investigate a murder in the same location where her mother was killed several years earlier. With DLSS 5 off, I get more of the impression of that character. With DLSS 5 on, while she seems to have a more photorealistic lighting and skin, it also looks like she's wearing makeup, which is not present in the original version. This gives off a very different impression of the character and emotional impact of the scene. Can developers actually control anything about the output image besides color grading? If they see DLSS 5 output and want to tweak it, like asking it not to apply makeup to the character, are they able to do so? And the answer is, developers will have detailed controls such as intensity and color grading. Artists can use these controls to adjust blending, contrast, saturation, and gamma, and determine where and how enhancements are applied to maintain the game's unique aesthetic. Developers can also mask specific objects or areas to be excluded from enhancement. We continue to talk with developers to understand all the ways they'd be able to control the technology. Ultimately, we see DLSS 5 as a tool for them to achieve their artistic vision rather than being limited by the capabilities of traditional real-time rendering. And then, I have tons of thoughts on that, but is the model limited to the screen space, or does it have any awareness of the environment outside of what's visible in an individual game frame? Again, this is a really key question because now, again, he's asking 3D from a different angle. It may just see the 2D frame, but is the actual DLSS 5 able to read the level that's been created and see all of that even when the camera is not facing it and work on that in the background? DLSS 5 only takes the rendered frame and motion vectors as input, again. And then the last one was with the introduction of DirectML to DirectX, allowing for hardware agnostic acceleration of machine learning tasks in games. Does NVIDIA plan to continue with vendor-locked versions of their machine learning-based game technology like DLSS 5, or will NVIDIA allow these models to run through DirectML on any hardware? To which the answer is we have nothing to announce on this one at this time. So just like around that. But honestly, out of all the answers, who gives a shit? Because those were some pretty key ones. Now, we already heard that Jensen Huang had said for the to Tom's Hardware group that first off, they're wrong. That was like his response, and he tried to remember like his 3D. And then we saw this contradiction. We're like, okay, don't think we're too wrong here. But then we see this answer here, which was from the Lex Friedman podcast. I'm surprised he hopped on. Yeah, just because this question was going to come up, and I'm like, let's see how he dances around this one. He says the following quote: I think their perspective makes sense, and I can see where they're coming from because I don't like AI slop myself. He then clarified saying, quote, all of the AI generated content looks increasingly similar. And by the way, if you listen to the podcast, he pauses for a moment there because I think you could tell where his brain actually was versus then he goes, quote, and they're all beautiful. So I'm empathetic towards what they're thinking. While that sounds like Huang, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing his name, by the way. I don't mean to be disrespectful about it. I don't know if it's Huang or Huang, but I've not actually heard it. Yeah. I should have listened to the beginning of Lex Friedman's show and not just jump to this time. Anyway, it says, while it sounds like he was walking back the technology, he insists that that's just not what DLSS 5 is trying to do. He insists that DLSS 5 is 3D conditioned, 3D guided. Its ground truth structure is data guided, and that the model respects the geometry and the artistry of the artist, and that enhances but does not change the scene. One way he suggests artists have control over DLSS 5 is that it's an open model. So game developers can train their own models to control what the output will ultimately look like. Ultimately, NVIDIA's intent is to give artists a tool of generative AI and they can decide not to use it. And so the idea and the example he used in this segment of the podcast is he's like, if you want like a toon shader, he's like, you could tell it to do that. If you want to do like uglier graphics, if you want to call it that, like 360 era, PS2 era, if you want to do that, you can do that with this, is the idea. And what this, again, goes back to is what I think about the tweet that was sent to me by Rafael Colantonio. When he responded to my thoughts on what was going on with DLSS 5, he had said, let's check my retweets. The risk is if we embrace it, at some point, the production process will turn into making blocky assets with basic animation and prompt to make it look cool and ship it. We'll lose our taste and ability to make art entirely over generations with every game looking identical. And that's what it sounds like it's setting up. So eventually you make very simple models and then you tell your tool, I want this to look like a cell shaded game. It's like, I'm simplifying it. But that's the idea that I think Raphael saw from a mile away. And then I see it kind of playing out that way already. And I'm like, okay, I would listen to what he had to say on it more than me. Now, with all this information, Kai, I'm just curious what your thoughts are on what's going on with DLSS 5.
Yes, I'm glad we are here because now I'm a person that I've always been this way. And when it comes down to news that broke at the time when we did the recording episode, DLSS 5, we got the news from NVIDIA, we got the news from Huang. Again, sorry if I mispronounced his name. And, I'm a person that I like to hear all the information, get as much detail as I can before I make a decision. For the record, I did not say, yo, this is the future. This is where we going. This is where it needs to happen. And everyone needs to adopt this. All I'm trying to say at the time was based on the information that we had, based on which was, again, NVIDIA, maybe one dev, one artist, and one person, digital project, and then one other person who actually saw the technician tech hands on, so to speak. And at the time, there was pushback. They were like, no, it does, it's enhancing the artist's vision and stuff like that. Now that we get to the Daniel Owen part, we get to the truth of the matter, right? We get more detailed information. So to me, it is clear as day. This is a 2D vector thing that it is inferring upon and thus making, I hate to simplify this, like ChatGPT make face, right? So if it's doing that, then yeah, at the end of the day, that's not artistic intent and that's not artistic vision, which I'm always going to stand behind. I think for me, and I think I've seen this sentiment where we got to be careful, and this not goes out to LSM fam. Love y'all, very respectful, very cool. The thing about this is, one thing about me, y'all gonna learn. When information comes out and everyone's got the tiki torches and rock, yo, you supposed to ride on that. You supposed to hate that, bro. What's up? We gonna go kill them? And I'm like, all right, why are we killing them? I want to get all the information before you grabbing the guns and go shooting someone. That's how I've always been. So for me at the time, I'm like, okay, all we have is the tech. This is what we see. And I will be honest in what I told you that I would stand in business on. I would stand in business on Starfield's face. That was the only thing. It wasn't Cog standing on business for the entire DLSS 5 movement. All I said is that studio who was notorious for them not having the graphical fidelity based on creation engine when it comes to their character models. I said, if you put a gun to my face and say what looks better, I'm choosing that face. That's what I'm standing on. Now, that doesn't reflect everything else with DLSS 5. And now that we have the information, because one thing y'all know about me, I'm always about developer intent. I'm all about artistic expression, letting developers do. Listen, the accessibility community throws tomatoes at me. They like, Cog, every game should have, the easy mode and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, but if I'm From Software, I'm a new developer, and I'm like, I want to make the most challenging game ever, right? And that's my artistic and that's my developer intent, then I feel that they should be allowed to do that. And I'm always of the mindset that, yeah, you could put, colorblind options, you could do all these things. But if they don't want to make a game easier because that is their intent, I feel they have the right to do so. Now let's fast forward it over to DLSS 5. Where they have lost me now is the 2D vector joint. Because you are really inferring, you are not letting the artist say, okay, the artist would have got there on his own, and this is helping you get there, and it's a 3D model. We're learning that is not the case. So now it's feel the corporate fraudery. You know what I'm saying? Now it feels like we're trying to push this tech. Then more information came out. Some of the developers are like, yo, we didn't know about this.
Yeah, I forgot to include that. Thank you for bringing that up. Capcom and Ubisoft did not know about this.
Yeah, they're like, bro.
These were presented options by, technicians, I imagine, at NVIDIA, and I think you could tell, but so you could also leave the door open of maybe when an artist gets their hands on it, it'll be better, but also it's a really bad presentation. And these keeping your artist in the dark usually says more to me than anything. I think if you don't want to tell them, it's probably because they'd be like, this doesn't look good. And there's a tech deal that's trying to be made. And it's we can't say no to this.
Exactly. Yeah. And a lot of times that's when the partnerships and the relationships come in, when it comes to, hey, NVIDIA is doing this and we'll use their tech and this helps us in some form of a partnership from a development standpoint or a financial standpoint to align ourselves with said company. And that's top level corporate, right? That's when the worker bee doesn't have a stance in this. What I said is this, though. I feel that what happened last week, the last 2 weeks with this whole stuff, there is a good to it because I've always said, as a person who loves tech, I always told people there's going to come a moment where the people stand up and say, nah, fam, that ain't it. We decide, right? So I think that's this moment because we see the unified front. Gamers, media, developers, all saying, this ain't it, right? So that now bodes on, and we're going to talk about other companies that are now maybe say, hey, we may need to rethink this aggressive AI push. You know what I'm saying? What's going on? So the other thing I just wanted to comment to, I know we didn't touch last week in reference, because this is a big subject, the digital foundry reaction, because I do have strong thoughts on it. And here's the thing. They were, at least I believe Richard Ledbetter and I believe the other gentleman's name, I forget his name, the bigger guy, they apparently were hands-on and they were generally excited about this tech, right? For whatever reason, they were super excited about it. My boy John Linneman wasn't there. And then I guess, he had comments like, hey, I ain't got nothing to do with that. I got thoughts, right? Because digital foundry, I thought I had tomatoes last week. Oh boy, they had death threats. They had all type of stuff. And this is the only thing I was going to say to people is that, look, if someone's generally excited about something, even if you disagree with it, you know what I'm saying? I'd rather them keep that honest assessment, like the same way I kept my honest assessment with Starfield phase, right? But once they got dragged, I felt bad because now it felt like they are going back on how they felt as a result of business, right? Mm-hmm. And I understand you're separate now, and that may be a whole different discussion. But that the only thing I want to get across to, again, to people when it comes to stuff that we disagree, instead of the name calling, let's first of all, let's stop the name calling, because it just shows you don't have emotional maturity. You can't have an honest discussion without doing something disrespectful. That means we can't communicate, right? You're unable to, right? Let's work on, I agree to disagree. How about we say these things, right? Instead of killing people, saying we go and do all this. That's the thing that it really disappointed me during the whole digital foundry thing, because I know I had like a small smidgen of, I did get a lot of slander, but to me, that's nothing compared to what they went through. And I feel we got to, as a gaming community, we got to do better. We just have to do better. There are tons of things. You know what's some of the most respectful things people come to me like, Cog, I cannot stand your point on this, but everything else I love about you or whatever. And we're going to agree to disagree. That's what we got to do. Mm-hmm. What's happening with that is just ridiculous. And then I guess the last thing I was going to say in reference to it was the theoretical aspect of the tech. Mm-hmm. A lot of this, I feel, honestly, Maddie, you're going to feel seen. So I'm involving you in a way.
Go ahead.
I think in my opinion, I think it's a generational divide. And what I mean by that is that I'm old, right? I come from the era of, you watch the PlayStation 3 E3 press conference, you see Killzone, you go, oh my God, that's the next Killzone 2. That's how the next level of graphics going to be. Come to find out it was a vertical slice, but we had to learn it. But we see fidelity jumps and we go, because we know where gaming came from. We like Pong and Pac-Man. We like, oh my God, that looks amazing. Whereas I feel the generational gap, and I'll throw you in this, and you can correct me if you feel I'm wrong, is that like you're from the era of, I consider like Instagram and socials. And so you identify a filter on me like, man, that's just a version of this crap they throwing. You see what I'm saying? And I'm noticing my young heads are real quick with it. Like, I'm like, damn, it look kind of cool. But then where I see, and I have to agree, is like, okay, when you see these AI things in motion, at first it looks cool. Then you start to see to the side profile or it moving and it loses it. And what I'm trying to go here is that one, the tech, did you read what is required for this tech?
25090s.
25090s.
Yeah. So it's inaccessible too.
We're not even there, right? So we got the 25090s part.
Yeah.
Then we have not seen anything really in motion for true, proper, you know what I'm saying, entry point as far as proof of concept. So that's the other thing. So to your point, and what I have to acknowledge, I have to admit, like, this could look cool when she's, or that person's standing, right there, but not moving and stuff like that. But when you see that thing in motion and practical application, is it going to hold that? That's the thing. And the last thing, which I love what Daniel Owen said, is this, like, you've taken, especially the Resident Evil one, that's the most egregious, because he said it perfectly. She's supposed to be this new sympathetic character. The DLSS 5 on one looks like she's going to the club, like she's about to go out, she's about to party for the night, and you lose the actual intent. So that's pretty much where I was at with it. I think this is a great discussion, and I honestly feel like now that I have the information, right? Because shout out to you, your gut instinct, right, was like, yo, that ain't it. all I was saying was like, okay, tell me why, it's like an investigation, like an inquiry. Tell me why you feel that way. I want to know this information. And then based on this, we got to find out, is the tech keeping developer artistry or is it inferring? And now we got the true answers or what's kind of going on. And that's fine. And that's fine. That's something I can't really get behind because it's not developer expression at that point.
Well, I'll say this. I'll jump in real quick. I just want to say two things. One, I'm always surprised how quickly people jump down either of our throats on things, because I think we've shown for over 200 episodes now, if we're fucking, I'm not saying, by the way, COG was wrong. I'm saying, but if we feel we are wrong, like, even though like the number one content creator advice you get is like, don't acknowledge the noise. But I feel like we kind of live in the noise a little bit. Like you can't, our show is like just big enough where we have a big audience, but like just small enough where like we want and desire to have that more interaction with our audience. And so I find it surprising when people jump down your throat. I'm like, COG's always said he gets new information and he'll respond to it. So no one disagreed with COG more than me last week. And you didn't see me like fucking spitting in this dude's face. And the worst it got was COG going, Maddie, like that, hit me with that. Like, that's the worst it got. And that's not bad. Yeah. So I agree that the reason I say is not because our feelings, we'll be fine. COG and I got ourselves and our phone calls to just take care of all of that. We'll just be like, yo, bro, what's up? How you feeling? But the whole like death threat thing, the whole anger around it all, again, no one's more like radicalized about it than I guess me in that case. Like, not like I just see AI it bad, but I know I give off that impression, and I'm usually sensitive to it. But in this case, with DLSS 5, I'm like, I don't fucking care if you get that interpretation of me. I say all of this because we talked just last week about how Jeff Kaplan was saying, like, if you're not going to play a game, then just shut the fuck up. And like, if you're going to just be playing it and just going to be negative about it, just shut the fuck up. The reason developers are coming out and saying this, and why content creators like myself have tried to communicate to the audience over and over and over that you can't be angry about everything, isn't because we're trying to rob you of an emotion you're experiencing, but because when there isn't the emotional intelligence to communicate how you feel, these companies don't listen to you. So there are pop-off times, but that's why, like, my DLSS 5 video, you may notice I wasn't yelling my head off like I usually have with Warner Bros. Not because I am the model for emotional maturity. You have seen me on this fucking podcast. I have my moments where it's just not there. And I'm just like, oh, stupid fart jokes and dicks and whatever. So again, I'm not this model for emotional consistency. But when you're trying to get a point across, whether it be to a studio, a person who works in game development, a content creator, a message in chat, whatever it may be, you don't got to lead with absolute ass kissery. But if you lead with like what we got with like what Darren Plays Writing was, like just a clear challenge to how we were thinking about things, like completely. And I'm not saying it's a call out, like clearly was like, I don't think you guys thought about it this way, but the way it's worded and the way it's discussed, I'm like, shit, yeah, like that's right. And that's, I think, way more productive, not just because I don't want to feel the heat. We live in the heat. That's what content creation is, but because it's so much more enjoyable for both sides. We have no problem talking with you guys on these things. COG has no problem changing his thoughts as information comes in. If we want to advocate for good conversation on Last Stand Media, where COG and I can disagree and have a much more interesting conversation, at the same time, that means we have to have differing thoughts. And that means that I might fall in the minority or COG might fall in the minority. And that has to be okay, even if it's not a popular take.
Yes, 100%. No, well said. And I think that because it's funny is you can tell we've come a long way, because like I remember the early stage, like they always agree on everything. You know what I'm saying?
I forgot that was even
bro. Like that's why I gotta call. I'm not gonna call out audience, but it's funny because I remember the evolution of Define when we first started. It's just like gotta get more pushback, and it's like these are the type of discussions we like. But again, we gotta learn how to be respectful with each other when having completely differing viewpoints. And I think this was a good inflection point moment because, again, as a techie, I'll be the first to admit I do have a bias towards new tech, right? And seeing something cool. All right, let me see what's going on. And then you wait until you get more information. And when obviously you get more information, your opinion may change. And, you may have an informed, opinion now based on the new data that you got. And I think that's fair. That's fine too. But like I said, when we get into it, again, not LSM fan because I love them. You know what I'm saying? But when we get into this mode, I notice it. And I think, honestly, I hate to, link all this stuff. I feel like political climate has also creeped into this stuff. A lot of stuff has creeped into it. And if you're on one side, I'm not allowed to talk to you. You are the devil. You are evil. How dare you even have a conversation with said person, that kind of thing. And I think we got to get back to these human interactions because that's more productive. And some of the dopest conversations actually come, why do you feel? Because remember last week, I was like, yo, help me get there. Tell me why you feel that way. You were breaking it down. You're like, look, man, I think, this is going to come from the top down. They're going to try to solely, infiltrate and push this stuff into the content. And this is not expression. And it looks cheap. It looks bad. That's what these, and I was like, I see where he's coming from. You know what I'm saying? And then from my perspective, I'm like, long as I got to get the artistic developer intent question answered. That's the one we didn't have at that time. Now that I got it, I'm like, I'm with Maddie on that. Now, as far as the Starfield situation, it's going to be very interesting how they navigate, because remember, Todd was outside with this.
That
Capcom,
makes it complicated.
Right, it makes it complicated. So now we got to talk about, I don't want to say the CEO and, staff relationship. Like, how does this work now? And is the negative pushback so big now that companies go, wait a minute? And I think Sav had a great point. Like, maybe now this is not part of the whole DLSS 5 suite, but you decouple. And now, because you see so much resistance, because let's be honest, it's a business. They want to try to sell this tech. They try to launch this with the new video card or whatever it is that's going to have it eventually. And they want to, let's be honest, just talk corporate card now. They want to be the sole provider of said tech. And if they're able to get in your living room in your house as the premier video card that does this, they beat AMD to the push, and then they got a control on the market, right? Sure. That's what they're trying to do. And then the fear is, to your point, well, if they do that, AMD's like, hey, we got to spin something up that can do DLSS 5, as you see what I'm saying? And that's where the cycle starts. So the question becomes now, is the pushback enough that there's some form of a walk back or a decoupling? And that's what I'm curious about.
Exactly. So, yeah, I think they're going to, because it kind of taints the DLSS name, which has had a pretty positive reputation, and they've like changed their names for things before. So I think I think it would make the most sense. It just doesn't fit what DLSS was in the first place. So they tried to present it like an evolution, but they went from 4.5, which was all just, again, upscaling tech, to like this. It's 5. I'm like, no, like, it worked against them in a lot of ways, because they brought a lot of attention to it, because it was like, this isn't DLSS either. Like, this is like, they're trying to bring it into that kind of wheelhouse though. So I'm sure they'll decouple to some extent. And I'm trying to get answers on Bethesda, bro. I'm really I'm obviously very upset about it, because I'm just like, look, man, like, it's one thing to do the Capcom way of just like a little text memo. Thanks, Jensen, for everything. It's another thing to be like the Todd, hey, we really thought it looked amazing and we can't wait to see what you think. And saying we, I'm like, now I look at what happened with Capcom and Ubisoft. I'm like, who's we, Todd? Was it you and your art team? Was it you and Jensen? Like, who was it? Like, it's the one time in the whole time I have covered him. I know people, again, have a laundry list of quotes, but it's the one time in his career where I'm like, what are you up to, bro? Like, this kind of has corporate around it a lot. And I don't view Todd is corp, don't get me wrong, but he is just as much in the trenches, to my understanding. So it's like, I don't think you're above the process. So like, what's going on here? Is it, worst case kind of like, hey, your whole team was like, dude, fuck yeah. Are you kidding me? Or is it like what Capcom did, what Ubisoft did, and you in particular loved it so much that you were just like, yeah, like, I'm front and center. You got it. Like, you're owned by Microsoft. So I can't imagine this was a tech deal to like get your game's budget over the line. You're making Elder Scrolls 6. I can't imagine you're really fighting for money in any way, shape, or form. So logic kind of leads me to believe like this is just like a straight up tech deal. But to what necessity, and has Bethesda's thoughts changed at all? Because right away they went, we think this looks amazing, to the new common talking point from NVIDIA and the like is, oh, well, look, this is an early preview. And I'm like, it's
right.
later this year. What do you mean? Like, this was like the big reveal, the evolution. You had the whole blog post, devs ready to talk. You had videos. Like, this was not rushed. You were like,
so roll up.
Move that dirt off your shoulder, bro. Like, you were ready. So what do you mean early all of a sudden? It's a cop-out. So I'm trying to get answers on Bethesda because they're the only ones. Like, that's why I was like, Tom Henderson's report was great. He was like, yep, Ubisoft, Capcom, here are the quotes. And I'm like, Tom, Bethesda though. Like, what about my team, man? What about my team? Come on.
Level for Tom Henderson Cook. You know what I'm saying? But we'll see. We'll get the truth. And I hear what you're saying. And the concern is probably, is it coming from the top? We don't know. We also got to be honest. We don't know what Bethesda in this new Xbox climate is, what their standing is. Obviously we're in a world where 30% targets. We're in a world where, post ABK is being looked at as a mistake. So all the publishers now like, hey, we're going to have to do for self. Again, I'm just making up a scenario, what I'm saying? Where it's like, hey, this deal came across in NVIDIA and this partnership and this will help keep the lights on type situation. Again, I'm exaggerating, but what I'm saying? If there's any type of financial thing, we don't know. So the truth will come out. And the last thing I would love if it does come out, if any of the graphic artists at Bethesda, like they probably won't be able to speak on record, but you know what I mean? Like, what do they really feel? Are they also lock in step with this? Those are the answers we need to find out.
Right on. Let's continue this AI conversation, Cog. OpenAI, which has been spiraling for a little bit now, just suffered a significant loss. And bro, when you sent me this news, I will read. Let me get our DMs up. Let's see. What was the exact Maddie quote again?
You were smiling.
You said bubble bursting. I said I'm dancing, twerking, and doing tricks on the grave.
You know what you understand? You know what you remind me of? You ever see that GIF where they got the homie on? That was you in my mind. Like when you was down on the grave like this, I was like, there he go.
Yeah. Look, bro, I hope people can respect that this is not like, I know some people whose Twitter energy is like, fuck yeah, it's dead. Like, fuck this, fuck that. Like, I hope people can respect that I have this energy about zero things in my life except for really bad AI. Because one thing I didn't get to talk about was when Jensen said on the Lex Friedman podcast, he was like, I too don't like AI slop. And I've just noticed this trend lately, right? I've noticed this trend lately. Satya,
yes,
Asha did it. Like, not good. Like, I too don't like slop. And what we're trying to perpetuate here is this idea that they all do slop, but when we do it, it's slop. And then you see Jensen in the podcast get caught up in his own words because he's like, it all looks similar and beautiful. I'm like, okay.
That was the slip. Like, wait, I wasn't supposed to say that. No, it's amazing.
Yeah, he's like, it's incredible. I'm just like, these guys are so obviously so full of, like, again, I'm not like this, like a fucking Johnny Silverhand anti-corpo son of a bitch out here, but like these guys and gals are so full of shit. I don't know how you can believe a word they say. Truly. I'm not even trying to be hateful. I'm like, I don't know how you do it. Really. I don't. So with all that in mind, Sam Altman, who previously said that the only reason they would go to like an ad-based tier and subscriptions and all that sort of stuff is if, things like ChatGPT weren't doing that great. They did that. Sora dropped. It was a generative video app. This was late last year. And, I won't lie. At first, it's kind of hilarious, bro. Like I'm watching this because I'm in on the sports community, bro. So I'm watching these dudes cook with some hilarious videos of like, I'm an Oilers fan.
Right.
Oilers fans, we got Stuart Skinner in net. This man cannot stop a beach ball. There was something a little bit mildly cathartic about watching AI gen videos of the coach being like, get the fuck out the locker room. Your ass, bro. Like, just talking like a casual dude, but like in the locker room.
Right.
Yeah. Like there's those moments where I'm like, okay, that was funny. But eventually it just turns into like, I've never seen anyone use this in seriously, like, I've seen some examples where like I saw like a Star Wars video. There were some examples of like Gen AI video work where it's still like, I think when you learn about it, you go, but there were some that did get by me where I was like, okay, I didn't know that. I won't lie. I say all this because it came out, it was like a tidal wave and it's already getting shut down. OpenAI has announced on Twitter, they said today, we're saying goodbye to the Sora app. To anyone who created content with Sora, shared it, and built community around it, thank you. What you made with Sora mattered, and we know this news is disappointing. We'll share more soon, including your timelines for the app and the API and details on preserving your work. Another example of a GIF, like you talked about the dude doing this on the grave. For me, I was thinking like the Rip Bozo, where the guy just, smoking the cigar, and he's like, just backing him up. Yeah. That's another one. Now, the result of this, by the way, it was facing like legal pressure. Like Japan's government was saying that like copyright infringement was going to be an issue. It was using anime IP. Japan was, again, really against this because that's what a lot of people were using it for, was making their characters that they love do stupid things. So the shitposting worked. The shitposting was like the greatest asset. I think you brought this up. You said like yes. The more people do this, yes. It's going to be like no one's going to let this fly. Disney wanted to let this fly, but they wanted to monetize it. They were ready to do $1 billion investment deal into OpenAI. And the idea was what Disney had said is they wanted you to be able to create your own short form content using their IP. So Disney owns a wealth of IP from Marvel to Star Wars. And basically they were going to use the Sora tech and be like, you want to make your own like Luke versus Princess Leia fight? Sure, go ahead. We'll let you do that. And people get to make their own content. Because a lot of game developers I've spoken to, when I read like stuff on movies and whatnot, a lot of the belief was that like the future of content was making your own. And so that's what Disney was trying to get on here. But they have now exited this $1 billion investment deal. It's worded like exited, but really when you read the fine print, it's more like they were forced out because Sora was shutting down. But again, this came and went in a flash, dude. And it is one of those moments where I'm like, are we going to look at this in like a few years from now and be like, dude, remember that shit? That was like a fever dream. But I found it kind of surprising that I thought this would take a lot more work, guys, gals. I really thought we'd have to work for this one. Doesn't mean it's all over. And again, I want to be clear with my anti-AI stance, which has been pretty consistent, that tools are cool. Tools that are actually useful are even cooler. But this type of shit, I'm just like, what does this accomplish? Like, again, it's for shit posting. It's for funny stuff. Like I see in every Iron Lords podcast, I see they got like COG and like the baby formula and whatnot. God. Like, yeah, like I see that. I'm like, that's funny, bro. Like, yeah. Of course. But I don't know, dude. Like, again, I look at this and I'm like, good. Do we need this? Did we really ever need this? So, COG, I pass it to you. Your thoughts on OpenAI shutting down Sora?
Yeah, this is a big one, man. Another reflection point, and again, that's why when I sent you the message, I put that caption like bubble bursting ? Right? Mm-hmm. Are these a series of, moves that we look at and we say, okay, we're starting to see the overinvestment. It almost reminds me of, in a way, during COVID, and people saw the numbers and were like, yo, we got to get in on this now. Like, this is crazy. Look how many people are playing games. Look how many people are doing this. And for whatever reason, the memo was, obviously the investment in AI. And I'm not saying it's completely going away, but we're starting to see little signs that even with Microsoft, right? Her rumblings that, they may not be happy with Satya, overall, because this overinvestment may not be bearing fruit. That return on investment that might not be in there just yet. So for the high level CEOs, especially Disney, to say, okay, we're pulling back from that, because I could totally see, a corporate CEO or top level CEOs basically saying, look, they can use our content. They could generate their own. It's going to make so much money. And you could see where they look at the financial benefits of it. This is significant. To shut down the app, like pulling out of it, pulling out the investment, pulling out the license deal. And then I think about the Japanese, community and how protective they are of anime and things of that nature, being included in this stuff. All that stuff in copyright infringement, all stuff plays a factor. It is going to be very interesting the next couple of years how or if this AI bubble does burst, to your point. And if we do look back and say, yo, remember that time when memory was crazy, when consoles costed $1 zillion, and now things start to level out and there's course correction based on that overinvestment. And that's why the parallels between COVID kind of ring with me because you're seeing so much right now. And yeah, this is something to watch out for. So yeah, I'm keeping my eye open. I'm seeing what's going on, and we're just gonna keep watching it and paying attention.
Yes, sir. Last AI topic. Thanks for bearing with us, ladies and gentlemen. I'll try to give it a rest after this. Unless NVIDIA just decides to do like DLSS 6, then sorry, I'm back at it. This last one is Capcom. I thought there was an interesting answer here because it was with a Q&A from their shareholders meeting. And it was about their usage of AI. And I thought this was interesting because we just learned they were involved with NVIDIA and DLSS 5. And I'm curious, what did they disclose versus what didn't they disclose here? So this was March 23rd. They wrote this, quote, "We will not implement assets generated by AI into our games. However, we plan to proactively use it as contributing technology to improve the efficiency and productivity of the game development process. To this end, we are currently exploring ways to implement it in various areas, including graphics, sound, and programming." So they were very forward that like graphics. There's your NVIDIA stuff. IGN writes, as previously reported by Japanese news site GameSpark, Capcom revealed back in January 2025 that it built a prototype idea generation system using Google Cloud. Basically, it's a system that uses generative AI to help brainstorm ideas to flesh out a game's world, something that Capcom's technical director, Kazuki Abe, described as one of the most labor-intensive and time-consuming tasks in game development, as each item has to be created from scratch. With so many items and background details in rich environments in games like Monster Hunter series, Abe noted that ultimately we have to come up with hundreds of thousands of unique ideas for comparison and evaluation. Each of these thousands of items in game require multiple proposals, including text and visual references, to make sure that even background objects fit the game setting. Capcom's Google-based system uses generative AI to read various game design documents, including text, images, and spreadsheets, and output further ideas based on them, thus speeding up the conceptualization process. The system allows the individuals to use generative AI to brainstorm and generate their own ideas, and has apparently been highly evaluated by Capcom staff. Abe explained that generative AI can be used to produce visual references to convey ideas to art directors and artists who are ultimately producing the finished assets. So, Cog, when you hear all of this, how do we feel?
I mean, look.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. We have it right.
Yep, get it right. Yep.
Mr. Scott, if you're nasty, writes and says, "Dear Generated Dukes, Capcom has recently come out and said they will use Gen AI technology in their game development process to make things more efficient. They actually used AI to help brainstorm ideas. Reading this is why I am so firm on allowing tools to be used in any capacity and letting the market decide. How many more unique and interesting ways will this tech be implemented, or at least tried, in attempts to get the consumer a better, more interesting product? Cog, I feel you are much more open to it, but Maddie, as I watch all you love adopt this tech, is there a part of you that asks, am I wrong about this? Am I overly fearful? Have a Maddie's game just leaked and it's a Pokemon party planning simulator kind of day. Mr. Scott, thank you as always for the great ride-in. Cog, yes, I kick it to you first.
Yeah, no, look, again, as a techie and a person who loves efficiency and things that would be mundane tasks for developers to do to get products shipped on time, yes, I'm for that. When it comes to, from an AI standpoint, one of my things that I actually like about it is like frame generation. Like I've tested, Final Fantasy on the ROG, and I'm like, man, you throw that FSR 3 and you throw that frame generation man, look how smooth the game. Oh my God, I'm getting like 90 frames. This is crazy. Like that kind of stuff. Absolutely. So again, companies are going to use this stuff. Companies are going to find ways to make it efficient. I think what we have established is when it comes to the artistry, right? When it comes to vocal performances, when it comes to like I said, what we consider the human soul kind of things, right? That really identify a human's touch on a product. That's where we're seeing that the market is deciding not so fast on that part, but we like the frames. we like how efficient you are. We're getting things done and getting the game out and stuff like that. So I think that's what we're kind of seeing now. And as far as Capcom, as long as companies are transparent about it, that's going to be the key. Just you got to be transparent, and then when you called on it, like some are, you got to explain yourself, kind of thing. And I think that's where we are right now. We're in the level of accountability to some extent where people are challenging and saying, okay, what about this and what about that? How are you utilizing it here and there? As long as you do that, I think you're fine. But what do you think?
Yeah, obviously I've made my point clear. So I guess I'll just talk a little bit about what Mr. Scott wrote in on. Because do I always reflect like, am I wrong about this? Am I overly fearful? I don't think so, because I wouldn't describe it as fear. The only time I felt like a little bit of that was like DLSS 5, where I was like, oh, this is like uncanny valley, creepy shit. And like we're seeing a major tech company with developers that I love, Bethesda, Capcom, step out and be like, this is it. Here we go. And I'm like, oh, they're excited about it too. And like, it feels like my voice and the collective voice, more importantly, is not reaching. That's a little scary. Otherwise, though, I do look at it as like one of those things where like, is anyone putting a gun to my head and saying like, I got to use this? No, that's why my team's not using it, you know, not because of me, but also I talk with my team about this stuff. Like, this isn't just Maddie's thoughts. I go to more trained individuals. Like I've always talked about, art is a legit science, like not in just the drawing of the picture and the colors and how it all comes together, but the actual making of a video game asset was far more complex than I ever could have. I'm still fucking wrapping my head around it, dude. I'm so endlessly impressed by our team. Yeah, you know, so I talked to them about it, and they're not like AI boogeymen bad, as in like they're not just coming from the point of like they know they have job security in me. You know, I'm not getting rid of anyone. Like I'm very happy with where we're at. So they don't need to like worry about like, is Maddie going to come in and try to like replace us? Like I would never do that. So for them to speak open and honestly about me, that's where a lot of it also comes from. Is like I work with a team. I work with artists who know the process deeper than I think anyone really could. And I trust them. And when I hear what they have to say, that's the stuff. And then when I have developers who I'm trying to interview reach out and they're like, hey, by the way, thanks for what you talked about with DLSS 5. I think that shit sucks. And it's at companies I respect and these are artists I respect. I'm like, that's what I listen to more than anything, is like, these are artists with jobs, make money. They're good. They're good. They're established. They've made their bread. They're good. Or in the case they work with me and they're good as well. So to me, it's not like AI fearful and like, am I right or wrong? Because I think the internet has a problem with having to be right. And the internet makes a little too fun of we were just talking about this earlier, but the internet makes a little too much fun of the people who take their L's. Mm-hmm. And I think it causes, and I get it because it'll run through your head at least a couple of times a year of like, I got to take the L. Like you kind of have that moment of hesitation where you're like, yeah, I got to, because when you don't, you can run into situations where if I'm like, everything AI is bad, what happens if AI turns out to have this moment of like, guess what? There are things that actually are really useful and they don't threaten your team. They don't threaten the sanctity of the art, medium itself. It is a legitimate, exactly what's described as a tool, like a software, like we use Maya. And it's just like that. What if that day comes? Do I really need to have my heels so firmly dug in the sand that now I'm fucking up everyone around me? No. As Cog would say, I operate with the information I have. The information I have now is not very great, as in like, I don't look at it and go, okay, you know, like, it looks pretty bad. Right. But if there comes a point, like I will take my L and be like, you'll never meet someone more ready to be like, I was wrong than me. Yeah, you know? You know, like I think that, at least for me, I don't like to take egg on my face constantly, but at the same time, do I think there's a respectability and a human relationship between me as a creator and the viewer to be able to be humble enough to be like, hey, I got this shit wrong. Yeah, we've all been there. Yeah, like there was a point in my career when I was younger and I was a lot more sensitive to things, and I was out there taking L's constantly. I was making apology videos like fucking annually, bro. Like, yeah, I fucked up on this one, you know, like, and then eventually I realized like not everything warrants a full apology. Like just like what we did, like dip into it, talk, not to evade it, but just address it, talk about it with the audience. Like people like the back and forth. I think that's important. So Mr. Scott's question, it's like, you know, when it comes to like my concession is like, okay, if you're going to brainstorm, I feel like that's inevitable because right now the leap of faith is like, what's the difference between that and me going on Google and being like, how does a character that's gruff and angry talk? And looking at examples or playing a game with a gruff and angry character. Like, is the level of effort there? Is there a detachment between that and then having AI kind of scrape all the information for you and be like, okay, interesting. These are some good sentence examples. Okay, I think I have an idea. I'm going to go with it that way. At a certain point, I kind of concede that sort of stuff. Do I have to implement that into my own practice? No. But can I concede that I can see developers being like, yeah, like we're going to do it that way? Sure. Because what's happening is we're trying to get to a point where it's invisible and we don't know the difference. Like we just saw with Crimson Desert, like the AI art slips through and it's the same rigmarole we've heard before. It was placeholder, our bad, didn't mean to, we will never do that again. We're replacing it all now. It's trying to get to a point where when they put it into the game and you don't notice it, they wouldn't replace that. You don't think Pearl Abyss is out there going like, let's hold ourselves accountable, guys. Let's go and, man, fuck that. They're like, no, if they're not going to say anything, they don't care. That's the goal, is like tricking the player's eye. That's what a lot of art is tricking the player's eye, that like there's motion on screen, or that what you're looking at is handcrafted. That's what AI is trying to do. It's trying to trick the eye. I mean, it functions, I guess, mentally in a similar way, but like there's literal trickery in AI is the difference. So again, like I think, there's going to be those concessions, but I think when it gets visualized or it's audible, whether it's text I see, it's a character I see, it's a world I see, it's everything that makes a game great. It's what I hear from the characters. It's the music I hear. Sure, like AI with music, I remember Locke did that for one of his Lockmore edits where he did like a crazy song, and like it was fucking awesome. It was hilarious. But like people didn't really care because it was for like this little jokey thing. But when it's art and you're trying to say something to me, I just find it that you become a little bit less serious about it when you have to go to those lengths. But I also feel like most independent artists would feel that same way. AAA, it's different. AAA, I do acknowledge that it's like they're trying to save money top to bottom. Jason Schreier put out a post on Blue Sky that like the average budget is $300 million. I'm like, so you're telling me like most AAA games out there are like, we need 5 million copies sold. That's pretty intense, dude. That's pretty intense. So I'm not surprised that they're looking to just cut heads off and let a robot do it for you. I just don't think everyone needs to do that. So hopefully that answer makes some sense, Mr. Scott. Appreciate your write-ins as always. Here we go. Man, if Fortnite ain't safe, I don't know who is in this live service space, Cog. I am very curious to get your thoughts here. To kind of keep a long story short here, they wrote on an open blog that Epic is laying off 1,000 employees. They said the downturn started with Fortnite engagement in 2025, where they were spending significantly more than they were making. And they had to make major cuts to keep the company funded. The layoff, together with over $500 million of identified cost savings in contracting, marketing, and closing some open roles, put them in a more stable place. I saw a tweet that I thought was kind of funny.
Which one? Yeah.
You talking the one about Tim Sweeney with the headline? It's so fucking funny, bro. The picture they chose and everything says, Tim Sweeney says Epic is losing billions because Apple and Google Tim Sweeney says Epic is losing billions fighting Apple and Google because it can afford to. Jokes that, quote, we might run into some serious financial problems after a couple more decades, end quote. And then they fire 1,000 people. So, Cog, I want to kick this to you because you are more of a live service guy than me.
Yeah.
How do you feel when you see this, right? Like, this is Epic, like not one of the top engines on the market right next to Unity. Epic, who's behind Fortnite. Has the Fortnite hype been overstated? Has the excitement of the Fortnite collab stopped doing less? Has that generation moved on? They've outgrown Fortnite. It's a kid's game now. What is it, Cog? What do you see? What do you think when you see this?
Yeah, when I heard about these Epic Games layoffs, this was pretty shocking because, again, we look at Fortnite as the dominant. That's the example that everyone strives to be, right? If you're a live service, this is who we are wave catching because we want that, right? And because of the success of this, the Epic Game Store flourished, everything based on this investment. And I do know some people in that building. And, when this news got out, I was like, what is going on? And the vibes I'm hearing is just like complete bad strategy planning. They, from my understanding, they won that EU court case, which allowed them to kind of compete, get into mobile stores and stuff like that. So that felt like a nice, slow and steady growth thing for them. From my understanding, the overinvestment with Fortnite into things that their own community does not want. And thus now the pushback, oh, no, you think you need this. You know what I'm saying? If we do this and the gamers and that meta in that community, like, no, we're not feeling this. So now you have this disconnect when you're not listening to your breadwinner. This sounds very familiar as a Bungie fan. You know what I'm saying? Now, granted, they're nowhere near there. They're still up there. But again, this is the sentiment I'm hearing in the building. This is the sentiment I'm hearing from other people. And because of these very small-minded, get a quick, I would say like quick, rich, get money now instead of the long-term, slow and steady growth and the low and slow, steady expansion. This is where we are. And then I just got to be real. I saw that Tim Sweeney statement, very insensitive. Very insensitive. He put out that tweet.
The other one where
you can't say these things.
I shouldn't laugh because it is people's jobs, but I'm laughing because this guy is just like complete head up your ass, like just word salad shit. He wrote.
Yeah, see if you can find it. It did not sit well with me.
Yeah, it was like hyping up the unemployment. He said, in the coming days, employers will see a stream of resumes of once in a lifetime quality folks. An important thing to understand is that Epic never lowered our hiring standards as we grew, and the layoff wasn't a performance-based right sizing as companies call it nowadays. It's a sound bet that anyone with Epic Games on their resume is in the top few percent of their discipline.
So much of the top few percent that you couldn't keep anybody. Like, it's just like you can't be bragging about how nice the dude you laid off is. Yeah. Like, that's what we were flexing.
Yeah, I was going to say, how do you try to create a hero story out of like, we laid everyone off? You're welcome. Enjoy our talent.
But that Epic logo on their resume, just know you've got the best of the best that we let go. It's like, what are we doing? What are we? How tone deaf is this? Like, I've never seen this one. And I have no issue with the man, but it's like, bro, you cannot be saying these things. Like, you got to be quiet. Like, oh my God. Like, I did not like that one at all. No. And, yeah, shout out to my homegirl, Leanna Rufus. She says on it, so spoken like someone with money. He's getting dragged. And this is the overall problem with the layoff situation. And I've said this ad nauseum. The people who are responsible for making the decisions that put the company in these positions, there is no accountability. There is no retribution for those people. Yeah. It's only the worker bees, the people who are following the directions of these people above them, making bad long-term decisions. They lose their jobs. And that's, again, where the corporate structure problem continues to exist. This is just unacceptable. And again, from a person who looks at Fortnite as the top tier, Maddie, this is the creme de la creme of live service. If this model is showing this, what do we say about everything else, right? It just shows you about this game business. It's brutal. It's brutal sometimes, man.
Yeah, it just reads like the business to be in right now at this moment in time. And unfortunately, some people can't. But I will say this. I could run down the whole common like shtick of like, yeah, layoffs suck. Like, hope everyone lands on their feet. It sucks because the place to be right now is indie. It's very obvious that's the case, I think. You know, you can make a lot of money in indie, no doubt about it. But the problem with AAA versus indie is that in a lot of cases with AAA, it's never enough. You know, you can be the number one selling game of the year in Battlefield, but it's not enough because you got, you know, tens of millions of players, but you didn't hit your 100 million player goal. So you get punished for this really unrealistic target. And it's almost like execs deliberately do this to maximize. Like, I think if you start looking at it from that angle of like setting these things up for impossible goals, because what they want to do is get all that cash and then have a good reason to just squeeze you so they make even more money out of it. That is my read of the situation. Where indie, smaller head count, more creative control, you don't need to do that sort of stuff as frequently. And you look at some of the biggest games in the market, like how many people made Schedule 1? How many people made like Fall Guys? Like, these are small teams, all things considered. How many people made some of these viral hits, Vampire Survivors, you know, and how cheap they are, all these friend slop games. Like, beyond that genre, Inscription, there's money to be made. I just think the difference is indie knows how much is enough. And so what I've talked about as someone who's like tried to pitch games and stuff is that what's starting to affect the indie genre, if you want to call it that, is a lot of these companies are now looking even lower. They're like, you know, where there used to be safer investments of like a mid-tier budget, it's now like, okay, well, we want to see, like, we've seen these games that are very low lift on art, very low lift on like gameplay, just very system driven game. Like, you just get one loop and that's it. And that works. That could spend $100,000 on this and we'll make 10 million. Like, that's where they're looking at now. But I guess what I'm noticing is happening is I think devs are feeling that too, because look, man, our game's not public. And for good reason. It's like, I'm not ready to reveal it yet. But our game's not public. All you've got is me. Like none of our staff goes public and really talks about it or rah-rahs about it. So it's just me. I'm probably the worst person to apply to right now because you don't know what you're going to be working on. You know what engine, you don't know what, well, I talk about the engine, like it's unreal, but like, you don't know the software requirements. Like you don't know any of that, but like, I still get emails from people who are like in AAA for like over a decade being like, hey, if you got a spot, like here's my resume, let me know. And I'm honored when that stuff happens. I'm like, wow. But at the same time, I'm like, I'm sure there's a level of thought there that is like, damn, you know, like two things. I mean, this is me not trying to like fucking shit on myself here, but it's like, I'm applying to like a YouTuber and an indie gig that doesn't pay well. Like, you know, like that sort of thing. Like we've come back to here, but some have willingly come my way and been like, I think what you're doing, as in people like you, is a future. And potentially the future. And I'm seeing that, like, I used to get no applications because there's no place to apply. You have my business email and a shot in the dark. And I'll look at it. But like, all of a sudden, like these last couple of months, there's been a serious uptick of people reaching out to me. Nice. And a lot of them do work at like a higher position in the industry.
Nice.
And you know, it's one of those things where, again, I look at that and, you know, right now, like we're in that phase where I'm like, we're going to hit our milestone and we're going to reassess. Cause right now we've learned our lesson where we tried to onboard a lot of people at once and like just drowned in it, bro. And it was just like, we missed all our goals because it was tough. So it was a valuable lesson learned where it's like, we like what we see, but like, we'll look into this a little bit later. But I guess I bring this up because it's to me like we're starting to see a shift where it's like when I've talked about this before, not just from that personal experience, but when you're an aspiring developer and you look at the AAA games industry and you see the number one selling video game and its team have layoffs of an unknown amount. And then you see the number one live service game, the number one game engine, the freedom fighter of the industry, if you want to call him that, because like Tim Sweeney's fighting wars in all the courtrooms on the behalf of gamers. Yeah. And they're laying off 1,000+ people. What message does that send you? That's what I always go back to. And that's why I think you're getting a lot of devs reflecting and looking around and just wondering why they're in the room. And why a lot of devs are betting on themselves too, more importantly, and what they should be doing. They should be taking the power of the tools is not really fueling, I think, a lot of like AAA. I really think it's coming down to like, how much can we get out of like 3 people? And you can do, I mean, look at Expedition as a great example, 30 people. And I know they contracted stuff, but that's smart game dev. People try to use that as a whittling point against Sandfall, but it's smart game development. They had a core team that built up everything you see in that game. They are responsible for it all. Don't kid yourself. They're like, here's how our animation system works. Here's how our 3D art works. And then they want more of that. And they have the whole style, the breakdown, everything. And they're like, here you go. Contractor X, Y, and Z. This is how many we need. This is how you do it. This is how our pipeline works. This is the time limit. And again, I'm simplifying it, but the point being is that like, that's smart game dev. And we're getting to that level where the bottom is eating because they have more power in tools than ever before. They're creatively driven. They're not overscoping. They know how much money is enough. They don't need to have more money than God. Creatively rejuvenated. Like, I'm just hoping I'm making the point clear to people that like what's happening with Epic Games is a huge moment because you have to pay attention to like the reaction to things. It's like, I know we're going, that's why I said, I don't want to go through the whole cycle of like, it's sad. Hope they land on their feet. Man, this industry's tough.
Which we do. Right.
It's about, you know, the reaction to it. And I've said this time and time again, like it's tough out there because we're seeing these teams that should be getting the raises. Like I think of Elden Ring, you know, and I know the Japan wage is much different than what it is in the West. That is also part of the problem. The living expenses going up has caused a lot of issues here. But like when Elden Ring was a generational success and easily From Software's biggest success, everyone got a raise. And that's what I want to see more of. When you're shitting money like that, it's time to pay the people who made it happen to retain that talent. That's why Square Enix and their Final Fantasy VII Remake team cooks, because they pay those people and they retain that talent. That's why From Software is on a fucking heater right now. And I know I'm talking more Eastern teams, But like, that's just, they get good business. That's why Sandfall cooked. Like, it's not rocket science, but it is to AAA. And so it's all this boom or bust. Arbitrary goals that are impossible to hit. They get missed. Thousands of layoffs, even though you're making more money than God. And maybe an overestimated genre. Again, live service was the place to be. It was the place to be. And I'm not saying it's not. Again, when people hear me talk about AI or live service, I imagine I give the interpretation of it all must go away permanently forever. I don't want to ever see it again.
No.
But it's like, we see the trend chasing, right? You and I have talked about that. You see that, like, everyone's like, now we got to get it. Like, Sony fucking cratered their business for a little bit, just going in on that. The investments, the lost money, they're probably just looking at that with like such buyer's remorse in some way, shape, or form. There has to be more of a balance and not such a reactive industry that chases trends. And then you have people who have no idea how gaming works or how sales in gaming work, or how budgets in gaming work, going like vibe. I call it vibe checking, bro. Like, it's such a vibe check to be like, 100 million players for Battlefield. What do you guys think? Sounds good. Like, that's the vibe I get from it, is like, it's such an unrealistic number. It's like, hey, what if, bro? It'd be kind of sick. So, rant, if you want to call it, over. It's just, I think, an important point to reflect when I feel very passionately about this subject, because I'm like, again, top dogs doing layoffs back to back. So a lot of people tried to treat EA as this isolated incident, but it's not. It's a persistent thing. We're seeing it at all levels. Xbox gutting their teams, even though they're doing really well. It's Nintendo. Like, it's just, we're seeing so many consistent issues pop up. It's like time to kind of face the music of like where we're really at right now. So all I've got on the Epic Game situation. I'm very sorry to people who lost their jobs. It really fucking blows. I feel bad for them.
Yeah, it's awful.
And certainly we need like a philanthropist in gaming that just keeps people's jobs in place, because it's just tough out there, dude.
It's brutal.
Yeah. All right. This next subject is Forza Horizon 6 PC system requirements. You want to play on May 19th, you better have a good rig. Maybe. I don't know. This looks pretty sharp to me, Cog. The recommended specs here, for those of you who want to whip it around Tokyo. For your CPU, Intel Core i5 12400F, AMD Ryzen 5 5600X. For your graphics card, I'm going to need you to get an NVIDIA GeForce RTX 3060 Ti or an AMD Radeon RX 6700 XT. By the way, we need to just make better names for these things. Can I finally say that? Can I finally say that, bro? Like, if you were not dialed the fuck in, I cannot tell what I'm looking at. I'm just like, is the number bigger so it's stronger? And there's like different models, different lines. There's a Ti, and then there's this line. Anyway, Intel Arc as well is getting some support here, which is interesting to see. 16 gigs of RAM. You need an SSD to run this thing. Windows 10 or 11. And the graphical preset for this recommended setting is a 1440p resolution with a target of 60 FPS or more. They said the performance will vary based on your PC hardware setup, background tasks, graphic settings, and the use of ray tracing or upscaling technologies. You can play this on Steam Deck. You can play this on the ROG Ally. They have robust controller and wheel support, ultra-wide support, high uncapped frame rates, DLSS 4 support, as well as AMD FSR 3 and 4, and Intel XeSS 2.1. And so, Cog, with that and the ray traced reflections and global illumination, are you going to be playing Forza on your PC, or will you be playing on the console?
We'll be on console, but I will say Forza Horizon is always a looker. It's always one of those games that you showcase that hardware. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I will fire it up on PC just to see, and I love the fact that they are optimizing historically for ROG Ally and Steam Deck. One of the first games I saw on ROG Ally, the original one, was Forza Horizon 4, and I was blown away. Racing games always just they present well when it comes to, you know, handheld and tech and having this very robust kind of a game on it. So yeah, I'm excited, man. As Forza Bros, I'll be riding with you. You know what I'm saying? I like the transparency on the specs. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, we got the ray tracing and stuff like that. But from what I speak to most of the PC enthusiasts that I'm seeing in the comments and stuff, they seem pretty pleased. I don't see too much negative pushback when I'm looking at, you know, as far as the specs and stuff. But obviously, you know, the RAM requirements, you know, they're there. But I do like the minimum spec that they got going on. So I'm ready. I'm ready.
Okay.
I'm ready to take that Tokyo, that whip it. You know what I'm saying? I'm ready to do that.
Cool. I have no thoughts on this one. Let's move on.
You not ready?
I ain't playing. Give me the Batman spec, bro. I know where I'm going to be in May.
I know where you're going to be in May.
Here's a surprise that kind of came out of nowhere. Minecraft Dungeons is getting a sequel. Did you catch wind of this one? I saw this like late and I went, I got to throw this into the script. It's getting a sequel. It's coming out fall this year. It's coming to PC, Nintendo Switch 2, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S. So it's here. You want more Minecraft dungeon rating? It's back. And so just wanted to put that one out there. I like that they do the Minecraft spin-offs from time to time.
Yeah.
This feels like a fever dream because we interviewed the guy who was involved in the game.
Yeah, we did the other game though, because Dungeons.
Minecraft.
Yeah, we did.
War game.
Yes, the other one. Dungeons is wave though. That's the one. That's the one. So a lot of people, are going to look forward to a sequel to that one. So yeah, I guess this was their Minecraft Live, situation. Big event for them. It's, obviously a big money maker in Minecraft for the community and stuff like that. So yeah, this is for the Minecraft bros. Dungeon 2. That's the game. That's the one. They're dungeon guys versus the other ones. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, shout out to them, man.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the game.
Yeah, they had the
Legends.
Yeah, we did Legends. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, what is it called, bro?
Dungeon though. That is a very cult play. I remember we reviewed that a while back. That did very well. People love Dungeons. Dungeons has it's a different community. It's like ranking all the Final Fantasy types and spinoffs and stuff like that. The Dungeon Bros go hard like that. Yeah, for sure.
All right. Kai, this next one, we talked about generational gaps. Is Final Fantasy for old heads is the question here and now. We have this report from Games Radar, and they were talking about how in a Square Enix YouTube video celebrating the release of mobile title Dissidia Duelum Final Fantasy, Yoshi P, as he's popularly known as, explains why he's hopeful for the new game. Quote, I'm 53 now and I've been playing Final Fantasy since Final Fantasy 1 in real time. But for younger generations, people who grew up naturally accustomed to action-based combat and online competitive play, the recent entries in the series may have been harder to engage with. Part of that is simply because, I'm sorry to say, the release intervals for new titles have gotten longer, so some players haven't really had the chance to connect with the series the way older fans did, end quote. Then you continue on saying that, my hope is that both longtime Final Fantasy fans and those who love the characters themselves can enjoy this completely new kind of game, especially for younger players. If this becomes a place where they can form a community, get excited together, and even discover the broader world of Final Fantasy, I think that would be amazing, end quote. We have this right in here from the Juan1, who writes, hello, Dukes. Is Final Fantasy a doomed series? A Games Radar article came out about the state of Final Fantasy and how their director, Yoshi P, looks at the future of the franchise. He said that many younger players are not connecting with the series as many of them are accustomed to action games and competitive online games. Matt Piscatelli even supported this claim as he wrote on Blue Sky that, quote, according to Circana's Player Pulse, 62% of U.S. players of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth were aged 35 or older. That number goes up to 77% if you go 30 plus, making it an official UNC status game. What do you guys think? How can Square save Final Fantasy's future? Drop the numbers finally, like Resident Evil, more remakes, or let the franchise die with all of us unks? Have a good one, gentlemen. Juan, we appreciate you. Cog, are we old, man? What's going on here? I love Final Fantasy. Am I the problem?
Listen, man, I mean, it's hard to fight the data. Data is kind of damning, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to Matt Piscatelli and Sakata. I mean, this is an issue. This is an issue. And I definitely seen, you know when I saw it really rear its ugly head? 16.
Yeah, that was a whole like, did it, didn't it kind of sales figure conversation. We got blasted on that multiple times anytime I talked about that. Like, it's where it sold well. I'm like, I think it sold well now. I think that's where I've landed. I'm like, I think it sold well now.
It's one of those things, but the controversial part about 16 is, remember, the shift into more of an action style game, right? And I think this is a clear case example of Square kind of experimenting and saying, you know what? As much as it pains my soul to say this, people be hating on turn-based, bro. They be hating on classic, traditional JRPGs in a way that we have accustomed to do it. And don't get me wrong, we have examples of success. Like obviously Expedition 33, but let's be real. Why is Expedition the one to break through? Because it has almost like that Dark Souls and you know, every battle counts, every counter, your time, you have to be on edge every battle. So a younger player, that kind of hits the synapses different. As opposed to us, we may be like, okay, strategize. You're going to do the magic, this, that, and the third. We take our time. It's turn-based, it's strategy, it's JRPG. I am noticing, I have to admit, I think there is some truth to what Yoshi P is saying. The question comes down to, you know, with Final Fantasy, such a beloved series, but if the data is showing that younger players are not resonating with it as much, I think that's why they're trying to and even with the ATB and the action battle system, right? We're starting to blur the line where we're incorporating more action in it so that we could get these younger gamers more invested and involved in a genre. So I do think there is some truth to it. I didn't know the percentages was.
Yeah, it's pretty bleak.
Yeah, I didn't know that. So it's hard for me to fight it. You know, I guess the question comes down to, you know, the younger generation, like how are we feeling? How you feeling about all this data?
I think that the article touched on something, and also really Yoshi P in turn. And it seems like something Capcom has figured out, and I think Square is trying to get there, but because they're JRPGs, they just take longer. Frequency of output. I think a lot of companies need to figure that out. The reason some of these games resonate, like, you just got to see a lot of them. And that's why I think we have our favorite series, because like as a kid, I got KOTOR 1 and then I literally 1 year later got KOTOR 2. Like, that's fucking crazy. Call of Duty was annualized. Like these things that were staples in our lifetime, the longest wait you had was 3 years. You know, Uncharted was out in a generation. You got 3 BioShock games in a generation. And that was like a window. Generations are defined by a window of your life. That's why it's called generations. Like, I think that's what Final Fantasy, in my opinion, is missing a little bit. Is like right now, when you look at the leaked roadmap, like Capcom's got you covered if you're a Resident Evil fan. You were there just every year, a new remake and then a mainline game. Obviously, these Final Fantasy games, like the mainline ones, are going to take some time. But it's clear Square needs to figure out something and kind of get their ducks in a row where like remakes are coming out regularly. Like there's no reason why 9 remake should have hit the brakes like it did. There's no reason we shouldn't have a 10 remake. There's no reason why 8, with how controversial it can be, shouldn't be getting a remake as well. While they're working on 17 and then 18. I think the other conversation worth having, although I am not all for it because I am a unk in this case, is like, do I see Final Fantasy 17 and then go, oh, yes, that is the series that I want to begin with that entry there? You know, like it's a legacy thing. And I am a big defender of the numbers. I think Yoshi P actually talked about trying to get the number drop for 16, if I remember correctly. And so I wonder a bit about that. And if there was more legitimacy to that than I gave credit to at the time, where it's like, yeah, dude, I mean, I trust consumer intelligence, but I also don't trust. I think it's also fair to say, like, when I see a number and it's very high, that there's a high investment to something that I've just missed the boat on, and I'm better off spending my time elsewhere and getting on the ground level. So I think that frequency of output, where like what made Requiem, I think, build to such a powder keg moment is they were so strategic in their remakes, right? Like target the Leon hits, target the Raccoon City hits. And so it all fed right into Requiem. So any late adopters saw Requiem and were like, oh shit, no, I want to get in on that. Okay, play 2 remake, play 3 remake, play 4 remake. You're basically good to go. If you want to get a little extra juice out of it, play 7, play 8. It's all there. I think that Final Fantasy needs a little bit more of that. At the same time, Final Fantasy sells pretty well. Like Pixel Remaster did really well. 16 eventually did really well. Some of this is course correcting from, again, like multi-plat strategy wasn't there at first. So I think Square is a little bit behind where Capcom is. And so I think they'll get there, but I wouldn't overreact to this. But I do think Final Fantasy could does it work nowadays? Another question I'll ask, and I'm curious what you think. Does it work nowadays for a series identity to have no identity? By that I mean,
about to say that. Yep, I was just about to say that.
you know what you're getting with some of the series we've talked about in reference. Like I know Resident Evil is going to give me survival horror of some kind, or it's going to give me shooting, I should say, at a very basic level of some kind, whether it's survival horror or action. But Final Fantasy's like, we're action. We're hold the circle button in Final Fantasy 15. In 14, we're an MMO. In 13, it's an awesome turn-based system that a lot of people thought auto-played for you. 12 was like an MMO. 11 is an MMO. 10 was traditional true turn-based stuff. Like, it's changed so much. And I think that lack of consistency is the lifeblood of it. But I do think it's hit a snag. And where I do think not knowing what it's going to be, like I can't decide if after 16, which I did not like as much as the average bear, if I should be excited for 17 because it might not be that, or are they going to double down and be like, yeah, action, but then more. And what is that action like in 17? Because I liked 15's vibes a ton, but its combat was okay. 16 was very flashy, very high presentation, very high production value, beautiful video game, great performance. It was art in a lot of ways, but it didn't resonate as deeply with me. So that uncertainty of like that, and then last thing, Cog, sorry, I have so many thoughts.
You're cooking.
We have to acknowledge that they've missed on a lot of mainline things. I think they have not had unanimous resonate, like a lot of like resonating, like 13, like they tripled down on that shit. I love 13, don't get me wrong, but they tripled down on that shit. 14 was ass out the gate. 15 is a massively popular game and it was multi-plat at launch, and like there was a whole development story behind that one, but like I got a soft spot for that game, but like again, that was kind of a little troubled where it didn't finish all of its DLC. 16 was like the moment, but then there were questions about sales. Again, there's a sense of unpredictability, and I think a way that was working against this series. So I think they're fighting a lot of problems here where Final Fantasy can still be appealing, but I think they really got to like get their shit together.
Yeah, this is tough. Because of also the investment that they put in, right? They put in a lot of investment and seek to get more investment. So they're doing the course correction as far as the multi-plat strategy. We like that. But you nailed the point that I was going to say. It's tough for a younger generation to have an attachment when the games have that much space between them. And every time you come out, you metamorphosize and reinvent the wheel. So even if you do like a game, you like, okay, I connect with Clyde. You know what I'm saying? He's not going to be in Final Fantasy 17. You see what I'm saying? And you don't have, it's not like a, I don't want to, because, you know, it's still vague if it's a connected universe. Obviously, we have certain characters, SIDs and stuff like that. That's in every single one and stuff like that. But you know what I'm saying? It's hard to have that emotional connection to stay with something if the universe and the mythos consistently changes outside of a few abstract things like summons and Sid and, you know what I mean? That's the thing. So that's their toughest challenge, you know, kind of thing. And like you said, they've had some misses here and there. And it's going to, I don't know how you solve that outside of catering to younger gameplay sensibilities. And I think that's where the OG Final Fantasy fans are like, yo, don't do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, they like, don't make us into Devil May Cry. Remember the 16? People were pissed. They were like, yo, this ain't a JRPG to me kind of thing. They were in a tough spot because it's a very sensitive thing. And they clearly put in a lot of investment into that series. So we will see. You know, obviously remake, I'm looking forward to that and see what's going on with that. But yeah, we got to see how they do the next, how 17 is going to shape up. I'm very curious to see what they adopt to try to get younger, so to speak.
Sure. Next up, Cog, a studio shut down. Sony at it again. This time it's Dark Outlaw Entertainment. We got the write-up here from Gamatsu.com. They write, Sony Interactive Entertainment has closed down Dark Outlaw Games, a studio led by Call of Duty veteran Jason Blundell, which had established this studio in March 2025. So just about a year old. I think it was a day shy of being a year old as Jason Schreier of Bloomberg had made the report here. Before Dark Law Games establishment, Blundell co-founded Deviation Games, an independent studio that was working with Sony Interactive Entertainment on a new IP. But that was shut down in March 2024 following Blundell's exit in September 2022. In December 2023, it was revealed that Blundell had been working for Sony Interactive Entertainment. According to Reset Era's J-Soul, who broke the story ahead of Schreier, Dark Outlaw Games was still in the early stages of its first project, and it's unclear how many studios were employed by the studio. Outside of Dark Outlaw Games, Sony Interactive Entertainment is making other cuts, including its mobile game department with around 50 affected staff, according to Schreier. J-Soul added these cuts are an effort to move away from the mobile market, which is still supporting previously announced titles like MLB The Show Mobile and Ratchet & Clank Ranger Rumble, COG. Another shutdown. Here we are. How we feeling?
Here we go again, right? Here we go again. Now, Jason did make a correction on Blue Sky. He said the previous Studio Deviation Games was not owned by PlayStation, but it was making a game for PlayStation. Deviation shut down before releasing that game. Then PlayStation hired Blundell to start the new studio, which was then shut down today. So yeah, doesn't make it any easier. I am noticing the pull away from mobile. Remember, that was a big thing during the Herman Hulse, Jim Ryan era, as far as live service and them saying they were going to expand into mobile, stuff like that. Again, all the course correction, all the studio closures, there's a price, there's blood to be paid. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just, we cannot ignore that this doesn't have an effect on a company. And I'm just curious to see, what is the long-term play, especially now we're getting ideas of, the PC aspect of it, how are they treating Steam? And it's just a course correction with everything that they did with live service. And then now everyone through the portfolio is, in my opinion, just being overanalyzed, overlooked at. Is this worth going forward with? That's the energy they're giving me. And that's dark. And that's why I'm nervous for Bungie. You know what I'm saying? Because it's just like, again, that type of climate, you're looking at what's not making money and whose burn rate high, what's ineffective. Is this even worth coming out and making? I don't think this is a positive stuff. That's just me. I've been tooting this on for a while. People just throw console sales at me, and I'm like, okay, cool, But internally, the house does not look good. This is not the Sony that I know. So we'll see what the eventual strategy is. And obviously, they got good games coming out this year. They got Soros, they got Wolverine. They'll have a great year, in my opinion, this year. But I'm just looking at the long term effects of them. Like there's bills to be paid. You know what I'm saying? Is when all these things get shut down, all these studios get closed, all these games get canceled. These are resets. These are full resets of multiple studios and some that don't exist. So we shall see.
We shall see. The Herman Hulse slashes continue on. Next story here is, I think, an everyone wins kind of story here. Basically, Nintendo had confirmed that starting with Yoshi and the Mysterious Book, that newly published digital titles exclusive to Switch 2 will have an MSRP that is different from the physical versions. And a lot of people went like, uh-oh, are they like going to move up physical and then keep digital the same, like $70 for digital and then $80 for physical, kind of like the Mario Kart World moment there. It was then confirmed that Yoshi was going to be $60 digital, and that the physical counterpart will now be sold at $70, which I think is a win here, and I'll get into it. But Nintendo then submitted a comment to IGN saying, quote, "The cost of physical games is not going up. This means that when Nintendo sells digital versions of Nintendo published games exclusive to Nintendo Switch 2 to consumers in the US, those prices will have an MSRP that is lower than their physical counterparts. Retail partners set their own prices for physical and digital games, and pricing for each title may vary." So it's not like a one set trick for it all, but what we've got here, at least on the outset, is number one, like something that we should have already had, but I'm celebrating it because we've seen like Steam do it before, where it's like, it's $10 cheaper. Nintendo had a weird deal going on with Walmart at one point. I remember Spawnwave put me onto this. If you went to Walmart and bought your Switch games, they were always $10 cheaper. And I felt that, bro. That was awesome. It was an awesome wave. $10 cheaper for physical, might I add. So I was always shopping at Walmart until that suddenly just faded away. But what you got here again is, I think, a situation where everyone wins. I don't want to oust my digital brothers and sisters out there. You want to collect all of your digital goodies. I want you to have fun. But for us physical bros who don't want to have, again, if it's not a game key card and I want to go out and I want to get my cart, I will happily pay $10 more to get that without question. Like, for me to own it and know that is mine and that is on my shelf and I have that cart and all the data is on that cart, like, that is valuable to me. $10 more, 1,000%. I will pay the premium if that's like they're looking at the production cost, the casing, the cart, whatever it may be. I will do that. I think everyone wins here. I love this. Cog, your thoughts?
Yeah, this is a pleasant surprise. I was like, wow. We
had no reason to do this either.
Yeah, exactly. So for me, this is what I envision. Remember when the initial rise of digital games, right? Mm. And I remember how it was explained to us. And I'm like, okay, you're not publishing the disc. You're not doing the box art. You're not doing the booklet. Like, shouldn't this theoretically be cheaper for the gamer? Right? That's how I always thought the introduction of digital games. And it really never happened. It was always like the same price. So look, is this going to be, like you said, a one size fits all for everything? Probably not. But I love Nintendo doing this. And I give Nintendo a lot of smoke. But I do like this. And for the physical bros, yeah, if you want to go out there, you get that copy that goes with you. You don't have to worry about a server shutting down and, ownership and stuff like that. This is a perfect medium, and I would love to see more of it. So, yeah, I think this is really cool. I'm glad this information came out, and hopefully it's a trend that can continue amongst others outside of just Nintendo.
I agree. All right, our next story, just me and my fucking bag here, dude. Yeah. All right, let's talk Dragon's Dogma 2. Now, I have not read the comments on my Retro Rebound video, by the way, yet.
Let's go.
Locke and I were... okay, so this has been like a multi-day thing for me. I've been playing Crimson Desert. Crimson Desert, in some ways, is reminiscent of Dragon's Dogma. But then I was on Summon Sign, and people were like, yeah, the vibes of Dragon's Dogma, it's so much better. And Dragon's... I was like, wait, hold the fuck up. We'll get my back up a little bit. I'm like, no. We ain't going to do this. Right? Like, Crimson Desert does a lot of great things and a lot of ways better than Dragon's Dogma. Dragon's Dogma also does a lot of things better than Crimson Desert. I think these two can stand and look at each other eye to eye in a lot of ways. But we're not out here Dragon's Dogma 2. Okay. So I'm thinking I'm in my right of mind here.
Okay.
Started talking about this on stream a little bit, Cog. I'm like, yeah, bro, can you believe that shit? And when you say that and then your homie's like, I mean,
you don't get the vote with confidence for the homie.
That moment, like your heart goes to your stomach. You're like, oh, what do you mean? I mean, bro. So that was the chat hitting me with the game was like undone, Maddie. Like the PC port was bad. Like, I was like, but I love that game, man. What are you talking about? I was like, what are you talking about? So then from there, I go, okay, let's go to Metacritic then.
Yes.
User scores low.
Yeah.
Like in the 6s. I'm like, okay, review bombs. Please. We've been here before.
The justification.
Steam. Come on outside. Let me go over to Steam. Dragon's Dogma 2. Mixed.
Damn.
I'm like, fuck, dude. Everywhere I look, this fucking thing's getting torched. Am I the problem here? I read and then I catch this rumor, Cog, which really set it all in motion. It's from Reddit Gaming Leaks and Rumors, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what happened is we learned, Dragon's Dogma 2 might finally get an expansion, which people have been clamoring for DLC. So I'm going through this comment section thinking like all my brothers and sisters like, yeah, dude, what a special series. Man, I love this. I can't wait for more. It's like, yeah, they fucked up, dude. Like, they need that shit yesterday. Like, Dark Arisen clears. I'm like, I love Dark Arisen, but like, Dragon's Dogma 2 was great too. No, anybody? So I want to preface this all by saying I have not had the guts I had the guts to make my video and say my piece and be like, not like, hey, y'all are wrong, but like, let's have a conversation. And I took the defensive stance of Dragon's Dogma 2. I said, I really like this game a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I have not yet taken in the masses because I'm not ready for that. It's one of those set it and forget it moments where I'm like,
walk away from the video and come back next week.
Like, I didn't blow up on anyone. I kept it fair. I was critical of the game where I thought it was fair, but like, I definitely am not ready to take in other people's thoughts right now. So if I say anything that you think I may have read already, I don't know what the vibe on the video. Retro Rebound audience is beautiful. I love that audience. They always go nice on me, but there are those moments like that get me off balance. Like when I made y'all who watch know, my Sonic racing video, when I compared that to Mario Kart World, and I was all for Sonic racing, and like the message I got across to that audience was like, bro, you're loving Nintendo a little too much. We don't like that. and the amount of like kills, I was getting destroyed in the comments. I was like, whoa, okay. So there's those moments where I know quietly the Retro Rebound audience, they got the hidden blade and like they can just drop it on me at any point. I preface with all of this because there was a Dragon's Dogma 2 anniversary post by Capcom. And in this photo, they posted on their Twitter account, they're like, hey, happy second anniversary. On the front of this little anniversary post here, there's a letter that's on a table. And it's in a different language. And someone then translated what was there. And it actually says that something is coming from the northern region to a place called Oregon. So a little bit of a tease there. In the back of this photo, in a, by the way, photo full of all these characters that you have met throughout the game, that you've seen throughout the game, in the back, heading out the doorway is one character with their back turned that no one knows who that is. So, again, a lot of people, like, dude, the top reply to this Dragon's Dogma celebration is this: highly requested hard mode update, X. Highly requested monster variety changes, X. Paid DLC, which fans will literally give you money for, X. Any new kind of content at all, X. Celebratory art, check mark, 2K likes. I'm like, damn, bro. Like, they're clearly teasing it. Give them time. Like, here it comes. Like, I know they've taken more time than they should have, but like, I think they're doing a re-release. I think they're gonna. I don't think this is gonna be an expansion. I think they're gonna do a Dark Horizon moment, because just like the first game, I think a lot of us in the Dragon's Dogma community forgot. Like, first game came out, and I love Dragon's Dogma day one, bro. I was there day one. I was there for the harpies above us and just endlessly yelling that. I was there for all the imbalances. And then I was there for Dark Horizon, where, you know, after those of us who were loving on the game hardcore said, like, yeah, but you need a little work on this, this, and that. And they went back and they said, here's like hard enemies. Here's that end game that's going to beat the shit out of you. Here's like new gear, new vocations, new skills. Like, they really loaded that shit up. It's an amazing video game. Dragon's Dogma 2 comes around. And I think what happened was it kept a flat line. Now, for me, COG, it was a holy shit moment. You know, I have very few of those, I think, but this was a holy shit moment where I was like, yo, in all the franchises I've been begging modern Capcom to tackle, I'm like, can you imagine if they did Dragon's Dogma? And they did. For a lot of people, they missed. For me, I walked away pretty happy, bro. Of course, am I going to sit here and fight? No, like, don't do more. You know, like, I was totally satisfied. No, but like, I felt good about what was there. I think this game had like chunks of the map that they dedicated to their story that, like, I thought was kind of ballsy, and I liked the way they approached it. But it seems like the general consensus for the Dragon's Dogma fandom is like, go back to Dark Horizon, bro.
Wow.
And so I think they're going to do a re-release, a more holistic, like, here are new vocations, here are new skills. Here's a new expansion that's going to probably be end game stuff. Here's new loot. Here's new monsters. Here's a hard mode. I think they are going to do what Dark Horizon was, because when Dark Horizon came out, people were like, yes, this is exactly what it should have been when it came out. And I think that's what's going to happen here again, except I think the irritation with Dragon's Dogma 2 is a little bit higher because Capcom should know better in some way. And also that there haven't been any title updates. And I think they had a decision. I think they were originally going to keep updating this game, but then they confirmed 4 million sales. And I'm like, it could have, for Capcom standards, could have been a little bit more. Re-release that. We already have a track record. There you go. So that's my prediction. But COG, I don't know, man. How are we feeling? Like, dude, are you in on Dragon's Dogma?
I like Dragon's Dogma a lot. I played a lot of it. A lot of it.
All right. So how are we feeling about more of that?
It is funny you said this, because I forgot, like, they really, like you said, it feels like they completely abandoned support. They went away from it. And then they've got all these other amazing franchises. And I'm like, oh yeah, they made Dragon's Dogma. And what happened? There's been, because since its release, there hasn't been any expansion, any DLC.
No paid DLC. They've been title updates. There have been updates to like rebalance things. They added a casual mode. I think that pissed people off because they wanted a harder mode. And they were like, here's a casual mode. They're like, oh, for them.
For them.
Yeah.
They
did some fine tuning, but like nothing in the terms of like holistic new content. But like that's the thing is Dragon's Dogma 1 didn't get that either. I'm not excusing it. They doesn't mean they have to take this approach a second time, but Dragon's Dogma 1 got nothing. And then Dragon's Dogma Dark Horizon came around. It was like a re-release with like a completely rethought first game. And it's the definitive version.
Got it.
So I feel like they kind of just repeated history here. Like, I'm sure if they do a Dark Horizon moment for 2, it's going to be hand over fist in every imaginable way better than the first Dragon's Dogma 2.
But I guess the question is, with this letter that you're seeing, this alludes to like, yo, new content. You got some mysterious character in the back of the thing. You don't think that they gonna buck the trend and be like, you know what? Let's give them an update, doing some fixes, some requested things. But also, this screams to me like the ultimate teaser and reveal of new content.
Like a paid DLC instead.
Yeah, like you throw in letters and cryptic letters. We read it. It's talking about other regions, and then we got a character in the back. You want to tell more stories, so maybe that was the play. Like, okay, we'll listen to the general. Let's be real about this game. The performance, oh boy, the performance of this game, especially on console, was rough. This was a very CPU intensive game, but it was so ambitious, and I loved it. Arisen, like I loved it, like just running over my guy, like I loved it, joint. But I understood what it was trying to do. Then you had the cooperative component, you know, the component where other people that are not playing, you could use their high. Like it was dope. Like it was just so many cool concepts that I really fell in love with. But it was punishing, and for a person that was new to the game, I understand the hardcore. Like, oh, of course you made it easy, bro. But that was a big turnoff of like, yo, your man got the sickness in the eye. And all of a sudden, and then you lost all your like, bro, it was brutal.
Yeah.
So I respected it, did that, right? And we want to keep developer intent, right? But I understood from a mass market standpoint. People were like, "Oh, F this! I did 100 hours. You out at night at the wrong time. You get caught slipping."
Yeah.
Like,
I talked about that in my video. I was just like, Dragon's Plague, like, okay, so Dragon's Dogma is known to be like a little more hardcore. Like they'll just rinse you out in the open world. They're like, you're traveling at nighttime. We're going to make sure you know you only travel in this world when the sun's out. But bro, Dragon's Plague was another level of punishing where I laughed talking about it in my video because I'm like, bro, for the people who put like 30 hours into the game and then just watch that cutscene play and like your whole village nuked, gone.
Bro.
Like, that's like, and it's not really communicated, and
the game didn't feel like doing a good job.
And you're just like, you know, your pawn gets a little snippy with you, but you're not like really told what to do. I get that frustration. Like I to be clear, for those who don't watch the video, I did address that. I'm like, Dragon's Plague was a bad look. Like that's a little too hardcore, you know. Like that's probably, and that's what one of their patches did. They like made it easier to identify and like easier to cure. Like they softened the blow on that, you know. But it definitely was one of those moments where I was like, yeah, like wiping out a whole town. And like, I love the consequence of the game, but that's maybe a little like some sadistic fucking maniac was like, dude, imagine if they put all this time in and we just went game over because we told you nothing. Can you imagine the look on their face? Game devs are trolls, bro. I'm telling you, like, that's fucked up.
I remember it like it was yesterday. I'm like, and I ain't gonna lie, I think I did stop playing.
Yeah, probably. Bro.
I think that was it. I went back to the town. I was like, hey, yo, everyone's dead. Like, what is going on? And I was like, yeah, all right, let me take a break. And I never came back.
That's enough. I get it. Yeah. Like, and that's the thing is, as someone who played and finished there's a couple of things that are hilarious about that. I played and finished Dragon's Dogma 2. Performance woes were a thing, but they were never so intrusive that I could not enjoy the game. Like I remember
PC.
No, I played on PS5.
Oh, you played on? Oh, I take it back. My bad. I thought.
Yeah, no, I played that on PS5.
All right, respect.
Yeah,
all right. You got the receipt. That was on PS5, baby. We was outside.
Yeah, I had this game up and running, bro.
All right.
They, I think, smoothed it out a bit because I mean they've given it like a PSSR 2.0 update and whatnot. Like definitely, what I just played the other night was like better than like what I
PS5 Pro might be cooking on that joint.
Yeah. I don't have that I don't have a Pro, but like I know this game did get a Pro or is getting a Pro update. So
nice.
There's that too. But I don't know, bro. I was happy. I liked what I got. So I enjoyed my time hunting bosses down, getting powerful. Like I thought the game was awesome. But
fun game.
I look forward to reading that Retro Rebound comment section because I am sure there's going to be a little bit of like, Maddie, I love you, bro, but come on, man.
So just for clarity, you in the Retro Rebound, you pitted it against Crimson? What was the point of contention that you are worried about facing?
I dared to have the positive opinion.
Just so you liked it. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. That was it. I didn't see anything inflammatory, but sometimes people were like, you like that shit?
Oh, you know how that go. Yeah. I said I like the Starfield face. Oh God, it was over.
Exactly. Last bit of news here, Cog, and we'll get on into what we're playing this week. Sonic Frontiers Definitive Edition leaks. We have the write in here from Lord Robert Kellett, RK128. He says, blessed day, Supersonic Dukes as Lord Sonic. I had to bring to the realm's attention. Sonic Frontiers Definitive Edition got rated in Korea. While it could just be free DLC on disc with some upgrades on Switch 2, I can't help but think this is Sonic Team taking the solid base and addressing issues ahead of Frontiers 2. What would you guys want to see in a definitive edition? Have a my goat still keeps winning kind of day. Robert, we appreciate you. Thank you for the write-in.
Defer to you, sir.
Okay, I'll take this one. I'm not expecting much, Rob. Thank you, real with you. I'm not expecting much here. I don't think this is like our big Sonic game of the year. I think what you kind of first laid out here, like my brain went to Switch 2 upgrades. Like, okay, we're going to get this going on Switch 2. All the DLC on disc, like kind of the final package is sort of a, we did Final Horizons, now we're putting it all together, we're reselling it. What I will say is this, I got more thoughts, less on the future of Sonic, more like Sega, you guys talked about how you're seeing that your definitive editions and your re-releases have led to less sales, and I don't see you really learning the lesson per se. I think, let me see if it was in the comments of this Gamatsu article. Let me see if I can find it. Hold on. Someone pointed out Sonic Colors Definitive Edition, Generations got a Definitive Edition, now Frontiers. If anything was good to go by with Generations, they're going to delist the original game, forcibly include all the optional content so they can justify charging more money. But they just kept re-releasing content. Here we go. This is the comment I was looking for.
All right, let's go.
They say, quote, Sega is aware that its past definitive version releases could be deterring players from buying games at launch, quote, end quote. This is a few months later. Yakuza 0 Director's Cut delisting the original Yakuza 0. Puyo Puyo Tetris 2S, Sonic Frontiers Definitive Edition, and probably delisting the original Sonic Frontiers. Metaphor ReFantazio Royal. Persona 4 Golden delisting because Persona 4 Revival incoming. Soul Hackers 2 Ringo Edition probably. And this is the reputation they're creating for themselves. Mm-hmm. So I hope they're being self-aware, and I hope they actually pack this with content. It's not just a re-release. And the thing is, they're tricky with it. The re-release is hype, and then they delist.
Yeah.
That's a little sneaky. Not a fan. So, Cog.
Yeah.
When it comes to Sonic Frontiers, I'm more interested in whatever they followed it up with, because Sonic Frontiers is a great base. I think they need to improve their physics and kind of the sandbox player creativity part of the gameplay. If they can get there, be very excited. But it's time for a mainline Sonic game. I think we see that this year. But do you have any thoughts on this at all?
Yeah, no, this is big. I mean, look, Frontiers, this is the definitive 3D Sonic game as far as sales. Like, they did well. They did really well with that. Mm-hmm. My gut tells me, okay, if you're listening, I don't want to get your hopes. We'll crash your hopes up, brother. But I'm feeling this is a Switch 2 extravaganza release kind of thing. Get it over to Switch 2. Get people hyped up, because, it'd be an upgrade path, I guess, for the Switch 1. Now, they could throw some new areas, some new content. Everything on the expansion side, content side has been free. So I could see them kind of doing that. But I will give you this, what I'll give you hope, though. I think this year is the 35th anniversary of Sonic. So they got to be cooking up something.
Yeah.
So maybe I look at it as a suite of things. This is one thing, right? But I think I saw like the Sonic Twitter account, talk about, hey, this is Sonic. And like they've got stuff planned for the Blue Blur. So I think regardless of even if this is not the definitive end all be all thing with this particular release, I think we're going to have a plethora of Sonic like things this year. So that's why I think this is probably one of the kickoffs. Switch 2 guys. Here you go. New content. That probably will eventually also come to other platforms and stuff like that. But really to kind of set it off as a new release almost for the Switch 2. That's kind of what I'm feeling right now. But we'll see.
We shall see. Cog, let's talk about what video games we're playing. Enough of this financial and layoff talk and all this irritable shit. What you're playing. Let's hear it.
Yeah, man. So I was 2 games I wish I could talk about right now that I'm dying to talk to you about, talk to the audience about, but we can't talk about those yet. So one next week. But, I'll keep my Crimson Desert stuff fairly brief because I only had about a couple of hours in it. And unfortunately, my experience on console has not been good. And it's just performance based. So, it's played on Series X, just so you know. And obviously they have the play anywhere mode and stuff like that. So right off the back, I was like, I thought the game, from a performance standpoint, they offer you like 3 modes. They offer you the balance, they offer you performance and quality. And the first thing I noticed off the back is like, man, it looks really rough on console, man. Like almost like 360 energy kind of thing. So I was like, all right, let me push it off, because normally I use performance by default. So I was like, all right, let me push it down to balanced. And I was like, okay. I mean, I put it to quality, excuse me, and it looked better. It looked really better. The issue just came down to, I'm like, damn, 30 though. Like, because it's a combat game, you want it to be a little bit more responsive. So then I bumped it to balance, and that's when I was able to get 40 frames, stuff like that. But my major issue was, again, this is a game, these big games like Kingdom Come Deliverance and even the Starfields, I'll be able to complete them because I'll be able to play on the Ally. Maddie, I could not launch this game on the Ally for 2 straight days, to the point where I was reading things like, just to get past the loading screen, I had to put it in airplane mode. Then to get past that, I had to take frame generation off and FS3 off. And I'm just like, these are things that actually make the game better. And I still couldn't load the game for 2 days, and it was just no fix. I know people were, unfortunately on Xbox were kind of refunding, same kind of thing. So Sunday I did IOP, and I was ready to show them, look, listen, I can't get past the screen. And they must have did something on the back end. Then it loaded in. I'm like, okay, cool. So I can only talk about a few hours. Look, the game, my main issue with it right now is I think this is super ambitious. Obviously the story in the beginning, you got what's going on. Something happens to you. You try to figure out why. And then obviously the classic tale of a character, kind of being brought back. But I just thought the bringing back was a little abrupt. I was like, okay, what's going on? Why am I doing these things? Why is it kind of a little bit more advanced? But I just think that my main issue right now is the control. I just feel like the mapping between jumping and certain little items that I feel like should be a little easier, be addressed. Now, since all these things have happened, there's been a patch. I heard, like on PC, I heard y'all lit. I heard like everything, the feedback and the speed of how they've responded to things has been really cool. So salute to them on that. My initial talks on this will be reserved until I get more hours now that I can get into the game consistently and stuff like that. But I do see a lot of potential here. And I just want to, it's funny you said Dogma, because it does give me the little Dogma energy, you know what I'm saying? As far as the towns, I like the study system. You hold down LB and then I can pick up that move. What's going on? You got your skill tree stuff. There's stuff here, and there's things that I want to see how far it goes. But actually, I was going to defer to you because I watched a little bit of your video, and I seen, things that you got going on. I figured it's the only little common thing that we got on before I go into my games. Sure. So I'm just curious, like, let's stick with Crimson Desert if you don't mind, and tell me about the positive experience, because you PC bros are eating right now. I'm jealous, man.
Yeah, I mean, definitely the way they handled pre-launch made it where like you just knew on PC it was going to be like a million times better over here. They put up hours and hours of footage. I was like, okay, this is like PC led through and through. Like this shit's going to be great here, but I don't know. Console was just such a crapshoot going in. Overall, I have more positive than negative. I like the game. It's got flaws, and the flaws are very obvious. And if you really paid attention before launch, like I kind of covered a little bit, it's stuff that you expect, but it doesn't mean that just because you expect it, that's going to be something that breezes over you. For example, I expected a really bad story. Did not expect it to be this bad. I'm the first person to admit, like, you want to talk about what I mentioned earlier about like admitting when you're wrong. I was wrong about fast forward feature. Yeah, bro. Great idea. Great idea. Like, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but just, it's just not like, I just find it in my impressions video as aggressively mid when it came to its story. Like, it really is just like, yeah, and you get to watch all of this. Like, it's so fucking bad. Like you like that shit. I'm like, no, dude. Like, it doesn't want to do anything, and it doesn't explain anything. There's no connective tissue between missions and why you're doing what you're doing. It's a straight up video game in that way. Like, when Cliff is like, okay, I'm going to go sweep the chimney. It's like, why? How the fuck does he know to do this? Why the fuck is he doing this? Like,
got it.
It's got those. So it's bad, dude. Like, and based on how they've responded to the game's feedback, and so quickly and so readily, that has really softened a lot of my criticism, because if you watch my impressions video, it's already outdated. Everything I raise a critique for outside of this story is handled. So it is my belief that they will take the intro to this game, which is not good, and redo it. I really think, like, because if MMOs have changed their onboarding and how they introduce players to the world, and as live service does this, like Destiny did this, like, they're like, okay, we didn't do great this time around. What can we do to smooth out some of the early onboarding? Because I think once you start getting deeper into Crimson Desert, as you heard before, like, it does get better. It does. And it's a great game. But like, dude, it's really tough to justify to even the most hardcore of game. You're like, just hang with it for like, I even think the 10-hour comment is a little bit overstated. I think it's more like you get close to 15 and you really start to know what you're playing. And you've kind of likely naturally by that point crossed setting up Howling Hills and all that stuff. Like you felt a little more comfortable wandering off the beaten track. You've upgraded your gear a little bit. Like you could beat a lot of games in that window of time. You could spend, and it's like also once you get there, do you know if you're actually going to like it at that point? Will you fall into that bucket? Because again, if you're like me, I'm very story led. There is a reluctant enjoyment at times just because I'm like, yeah, like this is fun, but like I wish I could connect with this world. Like the reason, for example, this world is typical fantasy shtick, right? But like the reason I connect with something like Dragon's Dogma, which is also typical fantasy shtick, is because Dogma is so reactive. You know, like it's all that, I was talking about it a little bit earlier. I was like, Dragon's Dogma is all that, like, pray tell, like the characters talk like that, and you have your goblins, your harpies, very basic fantasy shit. But because the world's like reacting to you and the pawns are always guiding you, there's these unique systems and like a connective tissue and sort of you care.
Right.
Crimson Desert's like, dude, you want to just do cool shit, beat up cool shit, find cool shit. Like you want cool the game. Once you get to that point, if that's just all you're looking for, and it's just like, you don't really need much narrative grounding for that, then, this is for you. So I've wrestled with that. That's the thing. I like the game. I want to love it. And that's where I'm at. Like there are parts I really like. The boss fights are great and engaging. Combat's awesome. Exploration can be really good. But like, for example, I love exploration-led titles because I am a Bethesda fan. Hello.
Yes.
But Bethesda games, which I know people don't like their narratives and whatnot, but they give me enough lore and like just setting and music and characters and just little tidbits of stuff to chew on where I'm like, it's enough to propel me forward. I am still waiting for this game as I approach like or I go beyond my 20th hour. I'm still waiting a little bit for this game to sort of launch me. And I have yet to feel that deeply compelled. And so that is where I'm at, where I'm very impressed by their support, but I'm also left in the same pocket I think a lot of people are, is like, might be better to play this in a few months, Like it really, I know how this goes. I did this with KCD2, where I was like, yeah, I'll play this in a few months. But like KCD2 was fucking amazing out the box. I was just an idiot then. Crimson Desert is flawed for all the good and bad reasons. Like I love me a good 7 out of 10 game. But some of the 7 out of 10 energy is here because it's like just there's stuff that could be done better. And they've really tackled those issues. But because they've tackled it in like a handful of days, I'm like, give it them a month, man. I'll just fucking wait at this point. So that's where I'm at. That's why I've started to like, I don't want to lose connection with it because I have covered it a lot.
Right.
But also I'm of the mindset of like, they're updating it so quickly, so readily, tackling my core issues that I'm like, I might just give you a little bit, dude. Like,
I was feeling the same. It's funny you said that. That's how I've been feeling. I'm like, to their credit, as I guess as an MMO studio, they're so fast, right? They're so, minus the console patch. We're still waiting as of recording. There is no console patch, as far as that major one that you got. But to your credit, to all the updates that they've done, I'm like, that's impressive. So I think that's their MMO studio chop shining through, and that they can be reactive. And I do think this will be one of those situations that where they do get everything, and we look back at it like, okay, this is, they've addressed all the major issues. And then my main thing is just the control. I just feel like the control, I'm fighting with it, bro. Like, I just hate the fact that like X button is for me to, to jump and also talk to some. So I'm hopping in people's faces and I'm just trying to hold down the button to get a conversation or to isolate one single person. Just little pet peeves where I just feel, aiming the light was like on controller, like 2 analogs. And there's like, it was just like bro, why is this so complicated for no reason? Kind of thing. And again, all things that can be addressed, but it was just like a bunch of little things that it wasn't like a death by 1,000 cuts. It's hurting my experience.
Exactly. It's just enough. It's nothing that really heavily pisses you off. Like I'll put it this way. Like I'm sorry. I apologize.
No. I was done. I was good.
Okay. Sorry. I didn't mean to just jump in. I was just thinking like, I'm curious if you felt this way. I described it as I was so close to just feeling like I'm going to go all in 100 hours plus easy. At the same time, there's enough moments where I'm like, dog, you're about to get uninstalled in like 5 minutes. I've never had that with a game where it's like, I'm so close to uninstalling and I'm so close to no lifing where I'm just like, I feel like I just need to wait a little bit, just a little bit, like it's both ready for launch because it's there. There's a ton of content, but I'm like, I feel a better experience is not that far off for me,
100% agree. 100%. And that's why I've cooled down. It's like, you know what? Let me wait.
Sure.
They're addressing things in a very fast moment. We'll get that patch on consoles. I'll revisit, and by then, I think I'll have a better, because I do want to love this game. I do think there is a lot here, and for the people that
huge,
bro, people that love it hard. So I see the potential. I just want to be part of it where there's less friction for me. And then again, ROG Ally, bro, like you got to fix that, because then I will drop the game. Because again, if you want me to beat these 100-hour plus games, Cogs has to have his Play Anywhere or his cross-play where I could take it on and go. I'm doing stuff. That's how I got KCD done. That's how I got all these major, big, life-stealing games done. And the fact that I love the fact that they made it Xbox Play Anywhere. I love the fact that it's a quote-unquote optimized, but it has to be able to function. So that's where I'm at right now. But that was my brief Crimson experience, provided you didn't finish your bars with Crimson.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I've over talked about the game at this point. I have nothing really new to add. I apologize for our DD audience who only listen to us, but like just to explain, like I did impressions and then we talked about it for like an hour on Summon Sign, and I haven't logged this shit. I've logged more hours in another game since then, which we'll talk about. But I don't want to just like go down the same beaten trail for like the third or fourth time now. So
I got you.
I got no more bars on Crimson Desert.
So the second thing is, obviously, you see the shirt today. So man, I have fallen down the rabbit hole of pure addiction to Marathon.
Okay.
And it has clicked. So it's been, the Faction Crest grind, what I call it, the Cryo Archive grind. In order to get there, you got to get to level 25. And, I watched over the weekend a lot of this. This is how it's been. It's been, you got your Destiny bros who are hating on this game for obvious reasons. They're like, yo, that's the joint that killed, Destiny, right? But then the beautiful thing that I've seen is that prior to Destiny, even at its peak, the Destiny PvP community was some of the most like disrespected I felt. Yeah. Because they were just the forgotten children. They were just the homeless shelter kids going like, bro, you don't even care about us. Like you do nothing. You don't do any PvP events anymore. The reward system is completely unfair. And to see them come out of the woodwork and support Marathon, and they're like, oh my God, like I saw my boy Travis rocking. I see so many people who are like these forgotten children, like, yes, there's a game for us, finally. And it's just been great to see. Cryo Engine, this was my thing coming in. And Arc Raiders, I love you. But the thing about Arc Raiders, I always tell people, it's like, when you put FPS, shooting, great gunplay, sci-fi atmosphere, and then the Bungie formula of what I consider is no one does in-game content better than them. They have a way to sit there and make you say, okay, you think you know what this game is. We are now going to put you in some of the most challenging environments for the people who want it, for the people who have played the first 3-4 maps, and each one has subsequent. Outpost was amazing. That's an amazing map design. Shout out to Diamond, shout out to Perimeter. Those are great starters, right? And then Outpost, where you're like, okay, wow, this is great level design. This world of Tau Ceti, bro. This world is brutal. It is dangerous. You do not want to stay in here long. You want to get in, you want to get out, but then you got mechanics, you got reactive activities. So I'm thinking, okay, that's the progression. That third map is great. Cryo Engine is the equivalent of when Destiny players play Destiny for the first time, beat the main story and said, okay, we're good. And they're like, no. Get to level 30 and you're going to do this thing called the Vault of Glass. That's what CryoEngine is. Now we have a secret location where classic Bungie, puzzles, ARG, just to unlock this thing, just to figure out the community coming together. You're seeing this plethora of dope storytelling in a multiplayer game that they've incorporated lore and made you figure out what's going on in this abandoned ship. And obviously we found out about the compiler, which we all know about now, which is basically essentially this elaborate spaceship that's derelict, that's security based, that multiple teams start on multiple aspects of it. And then then it becomes a circle, and you have every location that someone spawns in has something of value to get to the actual mission objective, which is to unlock all these things. Now, granted, Bungie, you're doing a little too much with RNG on top of RNG to get these damn key. That's bad. Don't do that. To their credit, Ziegler put out and said, yep, they're super fast with the response. I have to give them that. This is the fastest I've ever seen Bungie respond. Yep, as of this day, boom. Then there's people that's like, hey, you're putting CryoEngine on this day, and then you put ranked. We need to have that spaced out so that the hardcores can do what they want to do, and it's separate. They already now made an announcement. They separate that. But what I saw that weekend was like, I ain't gonna lie, like tear-jerking, Bungie still got it kind of stuff. And to see teams come together and say, you know what, bro, we fought each other here. Maybe we all team together against this boss and not try to rob each other. Now, here's the problem. The problem is, Maddie, this is a niche upon a niche upon a niche. You're talking about the 2%, the 5% of players that can access and complete this content. Then you're talking about the PvP sweatiest goons you've ever seen. So imagine doing a raid. And the equivalent I can say is imagine you doing a raid in Destiny. You get the Gallahorn, and then someone can come in there and shoot you and take your Gallahorn and you lose. Like, that is brutal. I'm not going to sugarcoat this, but I will say the level design, what they made was so special. Kudos. If this is the end, if this is your final shape moment, I salute you, because I'm grinding to I just want to experience it. I'm like, I forgot like 15. I got a bunch of levels to go. Shout out to Astro Paris. Shout out to my man Gator, Jimmy. All those who's been rocking. You know what I'm saying? It is a lot of fun. Now, here's my little fun. This is the last thing I will say for me, because I'm not on that, Super Saiyan mode these guys are on, right? To get to 25 and all that stuff. You know what my new enjoyment with this game is, man?
Let's hear it.
All right. So basically, you got the factions. A lot of faction upgrades will give you, better heat, make the gameplay better, give you more vault space, give you access to vendors, so that every loss of a run, you just go to the vendor, you can buy a shield, you can do this, you can get back in the mix where you don't have to take a sponsor kit, which is kind of cheap stuff, right? The thing where this game really hits me is now some of these faction upgrades, they require specific materials, and then they want you to go to specific places in the map, do quests and all this other stuff, right?
Okay.
So a lot of times, if you're playing Dolo, right, you're like, yo, bro, I got this quest. Can we? And then some dudes are listening, and some dudes are like, well, I'm going over here. They ain't, so you want to run. This game is really better with threes of persons that right? And you can do something and tackle stuff fairly together. Where the game becomes lit, I didn't know I needed Rook runs. Rook runs are the funny. So Rook is a single character. He's like a robot scavenger unit. You can only play him solo. You cannot do contracts when you play the character as Rook, right? Rook gets dropped in mid-match, Matty. So while like a regular normal match is going on, marathon on the board, and everyone's fighting, teams are going and doing, people are trying to exfil and escape, and Rook comes into the play. So you're this little scavenger robot. You usually drop with a little garbage pistol or something trash, right? Your whole objective is to be a goblin. Go loot bodies, like the new thing I do now is like, okay, I hear beef in the distance. Do I wait? Go over there and scavenge the remains of the loser of the fight. Then all the materials that you need for quest items you could do. Then they got guarded exfils, where it's like they're surrounded by nothing but UACs, robot soldiers, powerful people. But if you're Rook, you press your special ability, you then camouflage and you become a hologram soldier yourself, where the AI doesn't fight you. So you use the guarded exfils as your escape as opposed to regular ones with regular runner shells and stuff. Rook run. Then the funny thing is seeing other rooks. You be seeing those be like, yo, bro, I'm just here for this. Yo, don't come on. We can work this out. We ain't got a beef. You know what I'm saying? The bad part is when you run down on the team and you go, oh, God. And I've seen dudes execute rooks in the most foulest ways. I've seen dudes, shout out to Ty Guy Travis who told this story, right? He running with his team. They run down on a rook. And he was like, hey, man, I don't have, I'm just here for a couple of items. I just want to exfil out. Yeah, man, no, come here, we got you. You got what you need. He's like, yo, bro, I just need a couple things and I don't have a weapon. You need a weapon? I got you. Yo, boss, how your man pulled out the weapon? Say, yeah. Lower your thing, I got you. Pull out a shotgun and killed the rook in cold blood. And the guy was like, damn it, man. I was just like, you have these, this is the organic, this is where it becomes a little arc rated. Because it's not, look, people in this game is not arc rated. They are shooting on sight. 90% of the time,
I've had that in the server slam alone. Just, dude, I pass by, there's no like, hey, you friendly? It's just like, who's shooting at me, bro?
On sight, except rooks. Rooks understand the situation. We know we be like, all right, look, you got to sometimes make unholy alliances, especially on exfil, right? Because you see the joy go like, damn, here's the deal. Don't be greedy. If you got a backpack full of stuff, get out of there. Don't be trying to still try to get gold and more hotter loot. Get to the exfil and get out. Now, the funny thing is when there's another dude at the exfil and you got a decision to make. So my rule of thumb is if you friendly to me, I'll be friendly to you, but I'm watching you. Here's the problem, though. Some dudes will try to take you down and rob you. So my new thing is if I don't trust you, my new thing, if I don't trust you, bang, I'm sure I'll leave you in the crawling state. So you're harmless to me now. I won't rob you.
Interrogating from there?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, bro, I didn't trust you. You was moving funny. If you still will act up, we can finish this for you. You leave it with nothing, but don't do nothing sideways because that's
I love this. I love this mental image of you keeping someone in play and being like, I'm gonna revive you, but if you pull any funny business, it's happening again.
Bro, I'm not playing with you. You can't them. Because it's hard out here for a rook. It's hard. When a team run down on you, it is so vicious, the brutal executions they will do to you. So that's why we understand when you live in that scavenger, that goblin life, you know what I'm saying? These are the rules you play. But yeah, I absolutely love the game. So I've been doing that, just working on my factions. And yeah, man, I am addicted. My last question just would be, I'm curious at the end of this season, what's going to happen with the reset? Because I'm hearing you keep faction upgrades, but how's that hook to keep people coming back? Because they got a dedicated base, but does the casual now say, I'm good, and you're telling me to do this again? Or I got to see how they do that loop. So that's where I'm at with that. And then final game, my call out, my bully tactics work. Shout out to the LSM fam. Y'all heard me. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to my man, Joe Lionheart. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to my man, you know what I'm saying? Astro Parrish. Shout out to the Iron Rook. The Demio light went up in the air. The bat signal went up in the air. Okay. We got campaign 2 done. The reason why we need to do it in co-op is because in order, basically Demio unlocked a new character. It's called the Warlock. Bro, this character's fire. Fire, dark magic, about hexes, curses, putting weaknesses on magic, using all these little dark magic abilities. And, you know, we got some representation in the building, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Now, the original Demio had a warlock who was, she was a sorcerer, and she had like this spiritual, like battle cat thing. This is classic D&D warlock. Dark magic, evil, curses, hurts. And what's dope, what they did this time is you have to play the game. You have to now, in past Demios, they would just give you the character and you do a new adventure. In this, you have to do a quest to unlock and free the character with a narrative. So we was able to knock that out once we completed the campaign. I tested the Warlock out. Warlock is super dope. And I'm just super excited for all the things they got going on. So yeah. That's pretty much at that. And then next week, you know, I got something fun to talk about or something else. I think people will be excited that I'm playing. I'll be able to talk about it next week.
Okay. All right. On my end, actually, I forgot to add a game. Hang on. Forgot to add a game to our... Okay. I'll start off with that because it's pretty quick. Doing a full review for it on Retro Rebound. I got a review code.
Get out of here.
Yeah, holy shit, bro.
Oh,
and
shit.
it was for Mega Man Star Force Legacy Collection. I literally saw it. So I wanted to follow up on that because I was on stream and like someone was like, like Maddie, like, why haven't you reviewed stuff lately? And I was giving them the same answer I give, which is just like, it's just not been like good time for me in review codes. Like, it's just not happening. And like, as I'm opening my email, just habitually like checking it as I do, it's like review code, Mega Man Star Force. I was like, cool. All right. So I wanted to review this one for Retro Rebound. Defining Duke's getting the early look because I've played some of these games before, not as familiar with them as Battle Network, but this takes place way after Battle Network, and it's the spiritual successor to that series. Battle Network, many of you know, is like my favorite Mega Man series, right next to X.
Yes,
Battle Network has the internet setting. It's just so cozy, but also I love those games, man. So I think the Legacy Collection for that is a steal. It's 6 games and just all of them are great in my opinion. Not the most amazing stories, but just again, very warm blanket gaming, but also just like fucking ass clenching gameplay. It's so good. Star Force Legacy Collection has a little bit more of a challenge for it ahead because it's a DS game originally. So you have basically to like set up the screens in ways that you want. You can stack them on top of each other. You can put one up to the side. You can put a banner behind it. It ultimately works, I think, well enough from my experience thus far. I'm still a little iffy on it because it's still a little weird seeing like the opposite screen. Like, you have the top screen, bottom screen. So you'll see like the other screen up in the top left corner. And the difference with Star Force versus other DS games is it like makes use of its bottom screen for certain puzzles as much as like its top screen for just getting around the world. So it's a little bit of a weirder DS game where it's not just like a ZX or something like that. I think ZX did this. There are certain DS games where like there's just one screen for gameplay and the other is like effectively the pause menu or the map menu, that sort of thing, where it's like, okay, like you can transition this into a pause menu. For Star Force, it's a little more integral to that process. So there's that. The actual combat itself changes in that Battle Network's combat was from the side of a grid. In Star Force, it's like a 3D model and you're looking down the grid.
Gotcha.
It's still pretty like fast paced. It's still a lot of fun. But I really enjoy these games. The music is really good. And I like the story a little bit more than Battle Network. If you're familiar with Battle Network, because Battle Network, again, is very like cozy, everyone's friends, that sort of thing. And the villains are very like cliched. But in Star Force, it's at least the first game's a little bit about like depression and like sadness and, trying to not be connected with other people and like avoiding that kind of contact. And I really like that approach. Instead of the internet, it's called, if I'm remembering correctly, I don't have my notes in front of me, like EM waves, I think is what it's called. And the idea is basically that in Battle Network, it was internet. In this game, it's aliens. And like the internet's kind of like this whole other dimension that continuously exists in these EM ways. It's really interesting. I don't know. I find these universes that they've made for Mega Man, these little spin-off universes, interesting. But overall, like just so far, I think a great collection. It comes with like a gallery, comes with a soundtrack pack. The other night, I was just sitting there listening to the actually it was just last night. I was just sitting there while I was getting some documents ready for my team. I was just like, I had the game up and I was just like listening to some of the soundtrack. I was like, oh, this is so good. Like if anyone wants a good, yeah, I think so. Like if anyone wants a good track to listen to that, they like that kind of cozy sort of melancholic music that's also kind of like, it's got a little high energy behind it. Listen to the hometown theme from the first Star Force game. I think it's really good.
Yeah, not to interject, not to take you down a little way. I forgot. You just got me there because you're talking music.
Yeah,
I'd be remiss if I did not mention, man, Marathon's music it hits different. I was meaning to tell you that. Shout out to Ryan Lott. This joint sounds like an evil, dark rave. I don't know. It feels like I'm in the 90s and the rave is pop. Like I got into a club late night, 2 a.m, New York. Yeah. I'm not supposed to be here, but only the elites know about this dark, evil synth, this wild beats, this little voices. And it's crazy, bro. I hated it. I just, cause you made me.
You're good.
I had to shout that out. Cause yeah, for sure. they cooked on that soundtrack. It is so thematic to the game. So when you mentioned that, I was like, yeah, tell me, get your balls off with your joint, with the Mega Man joint, because you hit my synapse on that one.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, no, like when the music hits like that, it's just like that's the thing is like so much of what Battle Network and Star Force are, I think, are soundtracks. They just create like a good sense of place. So I feel you on that, and like Star Force does that. So yeah, I'll have like a full review out on Retro Rebound with more organized thoughts because I'm gonna record that probably tomorrow, and we'll get it out on Friday for launch day because I got my code like the day before embargo lifted. So I'll be dropping that again in time for launch, but I'll have more thoughts then.
Nice.
The game I've been spending the most time with.
Cozy time.
Yeah, dude. Just
let's talk about
it. Does it get better than this? I don't think so.
You can see the pure joy and happiness in this man. This man's loving this.
Yeah, like, does it really? Like, I think I might have peaked, like Pokemon Pocopia.
Mm-hmm.
Just loving my daily flow with this cog, some sessions longer than others, but just really loving being in a groove with this game. What haven't I said? I talked about this a little bit on Summon Sign. Just every session I play, dude, just like it's so meaningful. I'm still seeking out the word when I do my final thoughts on this game, but I think like purposeful is what I would settle on right now. Everything you do just has purpose behind it. When you establish a place, you want to create a building and you want to nurture all the Pokemon, you want them to be good and taken care of. Like that's because it affects your environment level. And when you get your environment level up, that's what allows you to unlock new items in the shop. When you unlock new items in the shop, you can create more buildings and get everyone even happier in your town. And while you're doing all that, there's certain long-term projects you're doing, like, hey, you're rebuilding this mall. Hey, you're rebuilding this Pokemon Center. This will take a day. But they never bar like major progress points off of that. Like the longest I've waited is an hour. And you've always got something to do, but it's not like this overwhelming log of things. Like it's purely imaginative. Like I remember when I finished this quest last night, it was like, okay, like we're going to keep building the third floor of this place. They're like, it's going to take an hour. Go do whatever you want. And immediately my brain was able just to take like an order of operations of like what I needed to do. And when I went and tackled it immediately, it wasn't just busy work. Like, okay, I'm going to fuck with my roads. I'm going to make them look perfect and cute. I haven't even gotten to that point in the game. I'm like, okay, I know I want to do this. I want to build this. I want to do that. I want to do that. Like I went down a whole list of objectives. And then, bro, I look up at my clock and 2 hours have passed by. And I'm like,
2 hours.
And I'm like, damn, bro, I'm like late to my other thing. Like I got to get that started because they make me wait another hour. And so I go and do that. And they're like, yeah, like, okay, we're going to do the fourth floor now. You know, a lot more concrete than we got though. And I'm like, okay, like, so I put some more concrete in the mixer and I know like, okay, it's starting to get late. They're like, yeah, that'll be done in like 45 minutes. I'm like, it's getting late. All right. So that's tomorrow. Like just my brain is in this mode where I'm just like one with the game. Like I have this internal clock, like I'm just flow stating constantly.
That's fire.
I gotta say, it also hit at a perfect time because I just played like over a month and a half of survival horror. So it is nice to just like literally kick up your feet.
Oh yeah.
But I just love that I'm like still at the point of unlocking moves. I'm at the point of like really progressing the story. I haven't even gotten to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm ready to commit to like, how do I make these towns? Like I'm in that mode, Cog, where I want people envious of my towns. Like I want people to look at my towns and go, damn, he cooked. That's what I want. That's what I want.
That's what we going for.
Yeah. I want people to think I cooked. You know, that would make me very happy. So I'm trying to wait for my moment where I have enough parts. And the thing is, I'm very protective of my experience here. I love how every hour there's a new surprise. Like every hour I'm unlocking something new, a new building, a new type of creation, a new tool, a new move. I'm so protective. I refuse to look at other people's buildings. I don't want to see.
You don't want to see.
Yeah, I don't want to see what the fuck you built. I don't want to see any of the abilities that you unlock. I don't want to see how this game progresses because I'm still on such a ride right now. Okay. And I'm really just tunnel visioning it. So it's delivering. It's really great. So Yeah, just approaching hour 40, and it's like every week I got like a new set of 10 hours logged in, bro. I would not be surprised if by the end of this year I'm in like the 200 or 300s. Like I really like just by natural, like I'm not logging all of this time, to be clear, in these massive sessions, but in these little 1-2 hour chunks.
Yeah,
just chipping away. It's not even like Animal Crossing where you have to like put the game down after like an hour. It's like, no, I can just keep going. But like as I get deeper into the game and I'm nurturing things, coming back for events, that sort of stuff, I just see this world where, again, it's a combination of like the game is so great, but also with Dragon Quest Builders 2, I think I felt a little bit of like, and then there's more. I'll see you soon, you know, and I put the game down like that was great. And then 7 years passed. You know? So I've learned in my age here, Cog, in my wisdom, if you want to call it, appreciate the moment.
Absolutely.
The moment even.
Absolutely.
And so here I am, truly basking in it. I am enjoying every second of Pocopia because at this rate, it'll be a little bit under a decade before I get something like that again. So I'm savoring it. There's no rush. Just going to keep going. And I'll see you at the Game of the Year list, man. We'll see where it lands.
We're doing it. We're doing it.
I Cody, like I maybe, but like top 10 for sure. It's already cracked that list. I can tell you that now. It's already cracked that list.
Your gameplay reflects it.
Yeah, like, but also the story kind of does. The story is like, as someone who's a huge fan of Pokemon Mystery Dungeon growing up, and the way that was a story about the Pokemon themselves, and like there were no trainers involved. And the big question, like the first game poses, like where did the trainers go? And it's a game about a lot of natural disasters. And this game tackles a lot of that. It's like, oh, this is kind of like a prequel to Mystery Dungeon. Like, this is sick, dude. So for the deep cut too, like it's there. And look, man, like I think I've reconnected with the Pokemon fan in me because I always joke about the people who are like, oh my God, shinies. Like, oh, this is so exciting. Like, I love catching Pokemon. I'm like, it's just, I love catching Pokemon too, but like, it's just so boring the way they do it. Ever since Legends Arceus, I'm like, you can't do it any other way. They just did a way too good of a job there. You cannot do it any other way. But this game, bro, like when I build a new habitat and I see the grass shaking, bro, I'm on the edge of my seat waiting to see what Pokemon jumps out. And when it's one I know, like when a Vulpix hopped out, I'm like, oh, like I'm like I've been streaming this game on Discord and my friends are like, yo, you see this shit? And they're like, yeah, bro, we see.
He said the tone was hilarious.
Yeah, they're like, you know, I'll be, like my friend, I was telling, because he's into Pokemon. I'm like, bro, you see these like Blastoise? He's like, yeah, I see. My like, you know, like I'm that dude. Like I saw a reel the other day where they were like, your friend when they're trying to show you video, you're like, yo, you see that? You see that? And the guy's like, oh yeah, I see it. Yep, I can't not see it. That's me with this game. I'm like, yo, guys, you see this? They're like, we see that. You're just the only one excited about it.
That's hilarious.
There you have it. The Pocopia experience continues on, and I don't know. We'll see as this game continues to deliver. I might just leave it because I talk about it every week, or I might come back.
It's your addiction. This way, where you at like that is where I'm at with Marathon. It's literally, it's the addiction. It's one more run. It's what like it. Whereas you have found coziness in the building and the greatness of it, I found this real calm. Like I just love. Okay, one more thing, one more upgrade, one more run, and and what I realized is the game is way deeper than I thought, and especially because I'll probably explain is I learned about like all these other things that I thought were useless in the world, these consumables, these cardio kicks, and these things that give you these strength advantages and healing, but it's you know when something comes together and you're like, boom, I get it, I see the vision now. And it's just, you can't stop. So I know that feeling of wanting to live in this world and you're learning more about it. And then all you can do is like, it becomes one more thing, it becomes 2 hours, 3 hours. And you're like, it's got me.
Yeah, exactly. Pocopia every night. And it's why there have been some nights like tonight, because I have to get up early tomorrow to drive to City Field. So it's like, tonight it's like, I can't take Pocopia to bed. I'll be up late.
Yeah, you gotta stop yourself because you know it ain't gonna be just one little quick thing and it's over.
So then what happens is then I get that day or that window and I unleash myself, and it's like a 6 hour just love fest on this game. So good.
No doubt.
All right, that's what we're playing this week. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get into the news this week. Asha Sharma making moves. How about that? We got some news on what moves she has made thanks to a report by The Information, but also what may be coming down the pipeline. Cog, this report comes from GameSpot.com, and I'll read this for the audience. Microsoft Gaming has a new CEO. Asha Sharma took over for Phil Spencer, and one big move she is considering making is a change to Game Pass to make it less expensive. The Information reported that one of her ambitions is to help make, quote, future consoles and products like Game Pass more enticing to a broad range of customers, end quote. To that end, the report said Sharma might be looking to revamp price models for Game Pass to offer lower price tiers, end quote, which, keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about a service that got a 50% increase. Ultimate went up to $30 a month. We have heard rumors of an ad-based tier for Game Pass, but otherwise, here's another way that Xbox is thinking about things here. A Netflix partnership. GameSpot writes, intriguingly, in the same report, Netflix co-CEO Greg Peters said he and Sharma have kicked around ideas for how Netflix and Xbox could work together on subscription bundles. Nothing has been confirmed, but Peters said he wouldn't eliminate any possibilities. Quote, you have to do it in a way that works for the consumer and works for both companies. And frankly, I think Microsoft is still trying to figure out how to make Game Pass bundles work for Microsoft. But what I like about Asha's thinking is that it's all about how do we do more? And it's already been exciting to watch, end quote. The last bit of news from this article here is that it was reported in the same piece, one of Sharma's first decisions as Microsoft Gaming CEO was to kill off the This Is an Xbox campaign, which a lot of people had feelings about. This is something we talked about last week, so there's a little bit more firming up on it was her call. So with that, Cog, we have some interesting little tidbits to poke at here. We got a little bit of Game Pass price change incoming. What could that look like? We want to obviously discuss that. A Netflix partnership, what that looks like. And then Asha, I think, doing right by the brand by killing off that campaign. We know it went away, but now we know we might have her to thank for it. So, Cog, wherever you like to start, how are we feeling about Game Pass price cuts? How are we feeling about Netflix? How are we feeling about This Is an Xbox? Hit me with it.
Again, good start from Asha. You know, again, I look at her background. I just think of Instacart. I think about Meta, and I think about user acquisition. That's a big part of her strength. So to me, how do you break down the barriers? The barriers are, one, Game Pass, which is their calling card, which is their unique identifier, which makes you like the ecosystem, has went up 50%. That is now no longer attractive. And as we saw, many people said, okay, I'm good. Once you guys raise the price to this point, that to me doesn't have the value. So to bring lower options is a good start, right? You want to get people in as much as you can at a lower price point. I do think you need to push that a little further. And it's not, don't get me wrong, I love the ad-based tier if they're going to do it. We've been talking about that stuff on the Final Duke for a minute. Like, hey, if they do a free tier with ads where people get down, absolutely. To me, we got to even go a step further. The real pain point, in my opinion, is the actual console price. Like, you've got to bring that down in conjunction with this. Then to me, now you're cooking with grease because you're making the whole ecosystem a little bit more attractive. Because let's say if you're a casual defense and you walk into a store, right, and you see the Series X at whatever price it is now, what is it, 700 or whatever, and you see the PlayStation 5 or 600, it's a no-brainer. What are you going to pick up? They have to still, I know Helix is coming, but we still have to address the Series XS issue if you want to adopt it, because you can, in my opinion, you can lower the price all you want of Game Pass. If getting a console is still more expensive than your competition, I still struggle with that. But I do like what she's doing. Now, as far as this Netflix thing, I ain't gonna hold you. That's kind of interesting to me. It's kind of interesting.
I was curious what you'd think about this one.
I mean, because, all right, Netflix is the de facto subscription model. That's kind of what they were trying to attempt to be at one point, right? You know, at least the comparisons were there, at least early with Game Pass. You offer in any capacity, because it has to make sense for both of them, right? But if you offer Netflix in the capacity like that ultimate tier, the way they offered Fortnite stuff that we didn't care about, and you know what was that? Was the extra value? They were skins and all this other stuff. But if you could somehow finagle a Netflix subscription into any type of synergistic relationship with Game Pass, oh boy, that's a whole nother user, right? That may not have necessarily would have been interested in your console, but they have that. Or you got a person like, you know what? this Game Pass subscription translate to keep my Netflix up. Again, these are very ambitious. We said nothing's, I mean, obviously the CEO said nothing is concrete right now, but I do love the fact that he says, I like engaging with her. I like the way she's thinking. And she's all about how we could do more. These are the quotes that are coming out for it. For the Netflix CEO to be saying that about her at this early stage of the game is very positive for her. And I'm curious to see where she's going with it. And then the final thing, this is an Xbox campaign. You know, definitely a great.
She's good in my book already.
Yeah, great initial start. Whoever's working with her on the team and herself, because I want to give her credit, obviously. You know what I'm saying? These are her ideas. Fantastic stuff. Because again, getting back brand confidence, getting back, the console sensibilities as far as what people love about the brand and not betraying that. I think that's important. So obviously, you know how I feel. It remains to be seen how much of it is truly removed, you know what I'm saying, as far as their thinking. But I do like that our ad campaign being removed and getting back to, core sensibilities. So yeah, overall, this is net positive stuff. I like how aggressive she is. I like what I'm hearing. She was at GDC. I didn't get a chance to run into her, unfortunately. Like, me, I would like to pick the brains, you know what I'm saying? When I look in the eye and I get them real questions off. But this is good stuff. I'm very curious about this Netflix thing, if that is true. I'm curious, what do you think about all this stuff?
So the lowering Game Pass price stuff would be really nice if I think it would go the way I would love for it to go, which is like just lower the price.
Right.
It's a little bit of a tough situation that she's got to manage here, because I imagine the ad-based tier I don't think it's going to do much. When I think about it more and more, I'm like, I don't think this really moves a needle for them. The problem Xbox has with Game Pass is like, for how critical I have been of Phil and Sarah and so on, I will say this. They led with a value first program entering this generation. And I think it gave them the lifeline because it was like a great place to do some affordable gaming. I think about Xbox All Access. I think about Game Pass at its prime. I just think about these combined and how you could walk out of like a Best Buy and be like, I spent $40 today. I got a Series S and like a year's worth of Game Pass, and I'm going to pay this off in a handful of months, like interest free. Like, that's fucking sick, dude. These types of offers weren't enough because then the game started to dry up. And so you could argue, like, can going back to that value first program get them back in line? But at a certain point, you have to also consider that the growth of Game Pass, when it was still positively, it's not that it's negatively viewed now, but it was like more unanimous. Like, you just shut up, dude. I don't want to hear anything negative you got to say about Game Pass. Like $15 a month, day one Xbox first party games, day one third party stuff. Like, get the fuck out of my face. Like, this shit's awesome. It's a lot more now like contentious to some people, right? So when I look at Game Pass, I'm like, well, when it was in its best form, the growth plateaued. Right? They wanted 100 million. That was the leaked internal desire. They hit like 30 something. At a certain point, is this thing going to grow at all? So are they trying to stabilize it? Does a free tier with ads help that? Or I think some people haven't thought, bringing up Netflix here. Netflix has an ads tier where you pay $8 a month, but you still get to access like the core Netflix library. We think about the way Xbox has divided up their Game Pass library. Can I see a world where it's like, here's Game Pass Core, it's $5, but you got to watch ads before you play this small selection of games.
Games, right.
And I think that might work for TV, because when I'm sitting on my couch and an ad plays, guess what I do? I ain't listening.
Exactly.
When I'm playing a game, I don't know how this goes, but like, if Xbox is going to buddy with Netflix and look at that business model and be like, hey, ad tier $5. I'm sure on paper it sounds great, but I'd be very curious to see how gamers receive that.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Yeah, like so do you think it softens the blow a bit if it is completely free? I guess at that point it's harmless, but does that get people into Game Pass, which is the goal here?
Right. Yeah, but if you're asking, I know that.
Yeah, I'm literally asking.
Yeah, my thing is, I'm with you, because it's like, it still doesn't solve the major problem. To me, it's like, okay, let's say it's 35 million of them in Game Pass. Okay, cool. They're locked. They're not going to it. These are your most stickiest, loyalist, people. I'm looking at new person, right? Not in ecosystem, right? The barrier of entry is getting into their ecosystem. Their console costs too much. Mm-hmm. This is the part where I want to hear, yo, the Series S is 250, 200. I want to hear that. You know, so then you go, oh, I could get in. Now you could play around with ad tier and all this other stuff. Again, what has frustrated me towards the end of this cycle has been, and we get it, AI boom, we get it. Remember, that's affecting everybody. But it felt like Xbox was the company that was like, from jump, yo, we can't do nothing about it. The price is on y'all. And they were aggressively, the price is on y'all. You know what I'm saying? Consumer, you take that. And I just, that's a big point of friction. And I feel like you have to change that part, because if you intend Helix to have some form of commercial success, right? We understand it's a high-end device. It's going to be most likely priced out, but at least get the Series X consoles and Series S consoles to the point of accessibility and user acquisition. That to me, if your intention is to get more people in the ecosystem, because my thing is, if you lower the price of Game Pass, where are they? PC, we already know, has the easiest entry point, right? They're eating good. You do PC Game Pass, you're great. But don't you want growth in the other forms of Game Pass, or where the rest of people are? You're not seeing those spikes and stuff like that? That's where I'm curious who is this targeting is where I'm kind of getting at. You know what I'm saying? Is a new person going to be excited because you now just lowered Game Pass, right? Now, we'll say this. If somehow Netflix is incorporated into it, that gets, in my opinion, can see a boost, because Netflix is the de facto, everybody must have this kind of app, in my opinion. So if there's a way to creatively to merge the two and they can get that done, yeah, you might be like, okay, I got a Netflix subscription, I have a Game Pass subscription. Okay, what's the value proposition here? So that's, again, the semantics. I don't know how the business of that work. I don't know who benefits, if it even makes sense for Netflix to do that. There's still a lot of questions there. But I like the talk. I like the conversation. And if they could figure that out, I do think that to me could get a new user. Because he'd be like, all right, I've got Netflix already. You know what I'm saying? This gives me this. Oh, okay, cool. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think there could be some synergy there is what I'm going at.
Yeah, I'm a little skeptical about it, because from my point of view with Netflix, it's like, I think about, and maybe it's less synergistic, which is all it comes down to. Like, remember when they did like sign up for Game Pass, you get like 3 months of Crunchyroll and that sort of stuff. Like, it was just a perk.
Right.
So what does this bundle do in your head compared to how I think I'm thinking about it too small.
Right. Yeah, if it's a perk, that ain't going to really do nothing. It's like, okay, 3 months. Yeah, I agree. That ain't doing that.
You're thinking of like the ultimate subscription bundle of like X dollars a month, and you get Game Pass and Netflix.
Which I may be asking way too damn much. In the business, the math may not math. Yeah, like it may not math. Like, my thing is, if you're going to keep the high end tier, the pushback against them when they raise the prices, people are like, yo, I still don't feel that's giving me value. I don't play Fortnite. Now what? What is this giving me? You see what I'm saying? Like, if they were somehow able to incorporate Netflix, I think that could, provide value. But again, I have to admit, it is, in my opinion, corporate wish or to start thinking, because that is literally the lifeblood of Netflix. Like, what does Netflix get out of it, right? Like, you have to look at it as it's a two-way street. Yeah. For Xbox is like, it's great. You know what I'm saying? But that's the part. So, yeah, we'll see. I will say this, though, for my old heads, Xbox 360 heads, if they did this, she'd be goated. I will say, this is just one aspect of Netflix synergy. If she is able to pull this off, should we give you some advice?
Okay.
You're able to get this Greg Peters in the room, and you're able to do some form of Netflix collaboration, you will be goated if you bring back Xbox 360, Netflix party, chat, watch the movie together. I just threw you the alley-oop. That was when the avatars first came out, and you be with your avatar, and we be all in the movie theater together, watching the movie. I know Netflix hates all of this because they want you to get it on an individual level. If you pull that off and you got some synergy with your avatars and you do that, this is the 1 versus 100 era. We had 1 versus 100. We had bro, you do that and you let us family plan the move. Hey.
Yeah, that is some wish on a star stuff, but that would be fucking awesome because I did have those nights as well, just watching Netflix with the homies and Xbox Live Party Chat. And yeah, dude, just like that would be cool. I would love that.
Throwing the popcorn. I know they're not doing this, but hey, I got a dream. Yeah.
You'd have to focus on avatars again. Maybe just go back to. They said this is the return to console, right? So like
Renegade Spirit, that was Renegade back then. I remember that.
Yeah, 100%, bro. Yeah, I'll be interested to see how they handle a potential partnership because, again, like what I'm seeing is like a plateauing, and I'm just wondering, like, is any of this really going to stimulate growth?
Exactly.
Like, what are they? What's the? I'd also like to know if the internal. They'll never share this, but if the internal metrics have shifted, like obviously, I don't think 100 million is happening. Have they kept that, but they've thrown the deadline further? Are they moving to a smaller number, but it's sooner? Like.
Could be
40 mil or 50 mil, like something a little more like this is still like ambitious, but how can we acquire enough users to make this happen? And how aggressive do they get to get you into that? Like I wonder about with like Xbox and going to this PC centric approach, how they're going to like clearly they want by the start of the next generation that like when you get into their program, like Game Pass is like a default thing. Like maybe they could look at it as simple as like Phil left it as an option. Asha's going to make it like you got to be in on this level.
Right.
Like, so, and what would that look like?
Yeah, we got to see. But I do like the idea of prices lowering and trying to get more users in the ecosystem. I do like her thought process on that. But it's just going to be the execution and what can she realistically pull off.
I agree. This next story, Cog, quick one, but like still gives us a little bit to think on. Chris Charla, who's the head of the ID at Xbox program, sat down, did an interview with IGN, and we've pulled out some key quotes. Let's go over them. We're working hard so developers can make one Xbox build in the future and it'll run on their Project Helix console, on PC, and on streaming and cloud services like smart TVs and other devices. He says someone looking to be ready for next gen with Xbox should be developing for Xbox console today, developing for Xbox on PC, and supporting Xbox Play Anywhere. Kind of putting you on notice there. How about that? That'll put you in a pole position for the next generation and ensure your Xbox on PC game runs natively on Xbox Helix. Be smarter to start with the Xbox for PC version first, and then use that as the basis for the Xbox console version. He says, of course, we'll have more details about how developers can take advantage of the specific hardware features of Project Helix in the months ahead, but doing this ensures that they'll have a native build on Project Helix. He also said he's been told by devs that Xbox's new release page is critical for discovery, so he's been working on improving that page as well as others on the back end so that developers can get eyes on their games. And he says at the end, for us, Xbox has always been at the core of everything that we do. It's in the name of our business, but I think it's just making sure that folks understand our commitment to Xbox and our commitment to console is the center of everything that we do, end quote. So, Cog, last week we talked a little bit about like, and it's still, I think it's clear, but also a little bit unclear at the same time. I'll explain, but like, we talked a little bit about with one of our write-ins, hey, if Xbox, like if you're a developer and you make an Xbox SKU, is this a one size fits all? Like, am I going to be, if I make a Helix SKU, am I also going to be on Series X and S? Can I like truly be in all these different places at once if I develop for your platform? Or is it going to be a situation where it's like underneath all of the marketing speak, it's actually like this SKU and that SKU and this SKU and that SKU? I feel like this answer provides a little bit of clarity. At the same time, I'm also just a little bit like he says, for example, to reread the quotes, that like someone who's looking to be ready for next gen should be developing for Xbox console today. So that tells me like series consoles developing for that means you'll be ready for Helix. But then he also says it'd be smarter to start with the Xbox for PC version first, then use that as the basis for the console version. So it sounds like they're suggesting start at the top of the temple and it'll work its way down a little more naturally. I don't know. I've never shipped a game. I haven't gotten this far yet. So I don't know, but I'm curious what you thought of the head of ID Xbox and some of the thoughts he shared online.
No, it's good. This is good stuff. This is some of the strongest stuff that I'm hearing. Obviously, there's still little pieces that we got to fill in the gaps, right? But on the top level, this is what you want to reduce friction. You develop for PC, Xbox One PC, and then boom, you are already, an Xbox game, so to speak. There's no, what is that? I think the terminology, they even use 30 minutes based on the GDC talks. This is what has to happen, especially if you're pivoting in this direction where you're Helix, you're one half console, one half PC. I think this is great. And the fact that it's Chris is a big statement, because Chris, for those that don't know, he runs a lot of the indie ID at Xbox programming and getting developers on. He is actually responsible for like the tooling and getting them the information, as well as discoverability. A lot of the reason why I have to give them credit where they've really improved is just this amazing game. Obviously, I saw Echo Generation 2. I got to brag a little bit. One of my highest performing videos to this day right now, I cannot. It's called Hit 'em Up High Rise. It's a game I discovered.
I was looking at that, bro.
Yeah, I'm like, awesome. This video will not stop going. Like it's just, and again, it's pixel art, it's beat 'em up roguelite, 90s, 80s villains. Cool. Chris Charla's team, right? ID at Xbox team. And again, everything there that we saw was Xbox Play Anywhere. Every single game. So they're getting the messaging out now to developers as far as developer on the platform, and then, obviously reducing that friction so that it can be on Xbox PC. But on the top level for Helix, now that you put this tool on the top level, if you just develop and then it's automatically, you reduce those conversations. Yeah, man, I submitted, I'm waiting, I don't know what's going on. They didn't get back to me. They outlined every step of that process of where it was causing problems. So this is good. Now, to your point, we have to see in action, right? When Helix comes out, they get is it as seamless as they say? Does it from stem to stern? Does it literally go that easy? And that's what it is. But I think they're off to a great start. This is good stuff. So I like what I'm seeing. I like this approach. This was my major concern as they reduce their footprint in console. The fear was, developers are not going to be wanting to make Xbox versions because they're really not, they're not in a position to really be competing with a PlayStation and Nintendo. But now you say, just make on PC 30 minutes, you already on Xbox version. Now you cook it with grease. I like this, you know what I'm saying? So in theory, I would tend to be like, if it's two people when they come outside, I believe. When Jason Ronald, the great wizard, comes outside, I'm believing. You know what I'm saying? And obviously Chris, in terms of the ID at Xbox space, because I know he's dealing with the devs on a one-to-one level. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah, 100%. I'm keen to see how things go for indie teams. I'm going to be asking my questions. Yeah, I'll try to learn more.
You'll be testing this process to see how this goes.
I don't know if I'll go directly to Xbox yet.
Fair enough.
I want to see how indie brethren are feeling. No, I don't mean shopping around. Like I want to make our game for Xbox. To be clear,
of course.
I want to be like, he really sold out the PlayStation. What about?
Yeah, good clear up. Yeah, you bet you see like other people who are ahead of you that's
in the program.
Like, yes.
Right now, we're seeing a lot of the press and just what's being reported by their quotes, and I'm like, okay. The people who are now working with those systems,
yes.
How are they truly? Like, what is your experience like? I want to hear from those devs. So I want to look around, ask around where I can and see how things are going. But definitely keen on what they're saying. I love the idea of just like for any dev, just doesn't matter what level you're at. One SKU fits all. Pretty ideal. So with that, Cog, that's all we've got this week. Meaty show, really juicy, really chunky. Great doing this as always with you. Any final thoughts as we wrap this up and dive into our hashtag?
No, a big one, man. Like the clarity, like we got a lot of things addressed. It's always good. And a lot of topics that we spent long on, but it was a lot to talk about, a lot of important stuff. So another good Dukes in the book.
100%. Great doing the show as always. Who knows what's coming up next week? We'll see. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And otherwise, we'll pick the hashtag this week, which I like the word clarity. Yes, and DD clarity would be the thing we lean into. We got a lot of clarity on things.
Like that.
Let's do that. So hashtag DD clarity. You can use the Twitter handles at G27status or at Lord Cognito. Otherwise, you can use the comment section down below. Again, hashtag DD clarity. We look forward to hearing from you, wherever that may be. Otherwise, we're going to go get some food. It's about to be 10 p.m. We just did like an almost 4 hour. Well, it's really a 4 hour show with the breaks included and everything like that. So we appreciate you and we'll talk real soon. All right. Peace out.
Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast, is a product and trademark of Last Stand Media and Collins Last Stand LLC and is recorded from the United States of America. The show is conceived by Matthew Mr. Matty Plays Schroeder and me, Colin Moriarty, and is written and produced by Matthew Schroeder. Matty's co-host is Barry Lord Cognito Eversley. Defining Duke's executive producer is Dustin Furman. All of Last Stand's theme music is by Ramon Narvaez. As you know, all of Last Stand Media's shows, including Defining Duke, are fan-funded on Patreon at patreon.com/laststandmedia. The following names are at the producer support level on Patreon, and we're thankful for your kindness and generosity.